Hello, hello. Red, how you doing? Let me hear that audio.
Good. How are you? Are we live?
There it is. I love that. I love that.
Are we live right now?
We're live.
Yeah. Woo.
Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, it's not showing comments on this version for some reason.
Yeah, I don't see comments either. Let's see what we can do about that. Welcome, everybody, to the show. This is Skyfire News. We're going to be doing these daily updates on YouTube from now on. It's a better way to engage. We like playing media, as you guys know, so this way we can all kind of check it out. You might know us from our Twitter Spaces or X Spaces, but now we are venturing out into this so we can show you guys the news as it comes out. Again, we love UFOs. We love UFO culture, so this is going to be like kind of a dream come true to get this show going.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get the link over to Ashton. He was like, send me the new link. We've been having technical difficulties, but we are pulling through.
Oh, we are persevering. We are persevering. You might know that about us. We're going to keep it moving all the time. Okay.
So how's everyone doing? So we don't have this StreamYard live chat up, but we can read some of the names in the, if I just go over, who do we got here? Red Panda Koala, Terrestrial Material. Hey, what's good, bro?
We're
gonna have a little call-in thing at the end. Hopefully you hop in on that. Anthony Jones, Stoned Ape.
What's up? What's up? That's cool to see you guys.
Another friend of the show. Mr. Groggies. I don't know who that is, but glad you're here. Heather Birdie. Don't know who that is, but glad you're here too. LUFO. Glad you're here. Sandy. Thank you for being here, Sandy. UFO intros. Let's go.
Agreed. Oh, nice.
Megan, how's it going?
There we go.
And then Ashton, send me the new link. We got it. Rob on the wheels. Is that Rob? Hey, what's good? Coin exchange. Good stuff.
Gonna have some background music. How do you guys feel about background music? I think it's the move. It's the way to go, dude. So a troubling kind of start for our YouTube channel. Like we had every technical difficulty you could find. We pulled it off. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that was its own challenge. Red, I gotta say, I know you can't hear me right now. I love that hat. If you guys like that, I want to see the comments in it because that's good. That's doing a lot of work.
Yeah, the hat's doing heavy lifting. Oh, I got my Skyfire shirt too, everyone.
Nice, nice. Ooh.
Cheapest camera died again.
I'm back in the mix. You can't keep a good camera down. Can't do it. Okay, so Red, what do we have in store today for the show? Right? What do we got in store today? We got breaking news. We do have some really kind of interesting stuff that happened over the week that we got to dive into. I mean, from the Boeing issues to the AARO report, and then again, we have some drama kind of kicking up in the mix, right? We have some drama coming up. A lot of people kind of going back and forth.
Yeah.
From Corbell and Kirkpatrick. You know what I mean? And I don't know, it kind of echoes that Nolan, Neil deGrasse Tyson battle that was kind of happening for a little while.
Yeah. Is there any way we could turn down the music just a little bit?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We are working those kinks out. The perfect volume is there, right? But we got to keep that groove going. Oh, we got Alien Girl in here. There we go.
Everyone shouts out Alien Girl.
Shouts out to Skinny Bob. Guys, I don't know why we can't get our comments to pop up in here, but we would love to be posting those. So maybe soon we'll figure it out.
We were able to do it earlier on Cheapest Stream. We'll figure that out probably for the next one. Because, yeah, I don't know if you guys heard, we're going to do this 5 days a week. Break down all the news. Post Kirkpatrick, AARO report world. What's going to happen next? What are the pushers of disclosure? What do they have up their sleeve?
What do you think? How would you grade disclosure so far, Red? What kind of grade would you give it?
Since 2017.
Yeah. Let's go from 2017, from the first article, right? The Leslie Kean article, New York Times, and where we're at now. What's the grade?
So I'm gonna also try and position myself grading it from a pre-2017 mindset, right? Maybe like a B-, B+.
That's really good.
I mean, pre-2017, like just the amount of congressional people talking about it. There were those hearings, you know, just the way it's talked about. A lot of good stuff there. Uh-oh, my camera's gone now too. What's going on here?
It's the
Let me see.
Hey guys, I can't thank you guys enough for your patience. This is going to be a legendary kind of beginning for a YouTube channel that hopefully has some longevity to it. You know what I mean? It's got to have some longevity to it. So Red, you're saying B-.
Yeah, I'm
gonna like
turn it on.
Okay, so that means that it hasn't really failed and it's kind of crushing it. So there's some things that could be better, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, what things could be better? What could they be doing a little bit better than what they're doing now?
Maybe if there was just like more videos, right? More Nimitz cases.
Yeah.
Why is mine not working now? Dude, mine was working.
Dude, we spent the whole day testing this out and feeling super, super good about it. And so now, of course, the cameras want to kind of die out. Now, Red, if you do connect your iPhone to your computer, you can use that as a camera as well, right?
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Well, you know, or you could log back in just on your phone. Hit us that way. But we got to see that. We got to see that face. We got to see that hat, man. We got to do it.
Why don't you go ahead and bring in Ashton while I figure this out?
That sounds great. All right. Ashton, we're bringing you up, buddy. For those who don't know, we got Ashton Forbes in here. Ashton Forbes is one of the best researchers we got in here. I don't know how he dug into MH370 so much, but the dude really did. Ashton,
hey, what's up, guys?
Welcome to the channel. I'm going to let Red pop back in when you're ready. All right, dog?
Finally brought me up. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I forgot to wear green,
but I did. Yeah. I wore it all day yesterday, so I didn't know what day was St. Patrick's Day. It was yesterday or today.
I think we're going to consider how green Red and I are at live streaming. That's the green. That's how we're celebrating St. Patrick's Day.
I'll give you guys some tips. Your cameras, there's like usually some kind of heat detector on them. You've got to set it to like high temperature so it doesn't auto turn off. I learned this one the hard way.
Good advice. Good advice.
There you go. Free advice for you guys for your early streaming career here. Did you see the post I made about Corbell saying that Fravor was told by the CIA that the Tic Tac was Lockheed Martin technology? That's pretty weird.
Oh man, that's so.
I know you guys were talking about that stuff.
I didn't see that yet. I'm gonna go into Twitter, see if I can pop it up here while you're telling. But explain about it. Like what?
I mean, he just said that. So yeah, okay. So give a little more story to the background of the story there. So apparently Fravor was being talked to by the CIA when he was coming out with the Nimitz incident, the 2004 incident. That he says he saw this Tic Tac hovering above the water. I think he went on Rogan and spoke about it. Said he also spoke about it, and he was one of the testifiers in the UAP hearings. And Corbell was trying to say that it was bullshit that the CIA was talking to him, telling him that no, this is our technology, it's not aliens and stuff like that, and tried to apparently convince him that's Lockheed Martin technology, which I thought was wild because that's what I've been saying about the MH370 video stuff. Is this is Lockheed Martin technology, and I know that's. To me, I think the connection is the Matt Gaetz UAP hearing message, or like when he's talked about seeing the diamond formation of some orbs or something, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, that's not worldly technology, not human technology. But what if it is, right? Like, I think people on all sides need to be a little bit more open-minded, right? Like, even I wasn't all about, like, let's say, like the future humans hypothesis, but I don't think we can rule anything out. So yeah, maybe it's CIA disinformation he was being fed, like Corbell says, but maybe it's also the truth in that case. I don't know. What do you think?
I think like you said, you can't rule anything out, right? The obvious exciting option of any of these sightings, of any of these videos, is that it's an alien. It's a really novel thing, right? And I think that makes us comfortable in two ways. Number one, it's not our own government keeping secrets from us, and number two, it's an exciting kind of opening for a new field, for something else to study. And so that's the one I think a majority of people are going to take when they do this. They're going to take that the funner option, as they should. No one's requiring them to do some deep thoughts on this stuff, but when you look at something like the MH370 video, assuming that it is what it shows, the idea that that's that could be government technology, it just what it looks like, and the same can be said for a lot of other UFO videos, right? Yeah. That what it shows is actually kind of like extremely different than what we're told how things move, how things can move, and I think that that nothing's off the table yet. We have to consider all options, because if we're out there looking for aliens and then the convoy of Humvees goes by and they're carrying like the thing and we're like, oh, it's not that, like we're still looking out in the stars for the answers. It's something to check out.
Let me ask you a follow-up too, because then, my view has always been that I don't think it was ever going to be, and the Leslie Keane 2017, that's when I started getting excited. I was actually just talking to Brad Voorhees yesterday on a stream that went for like at least 2 hours. And, that was like kind of his point as well, where he kind of started to take it seriously, is when that, they admitted that there's something out there. And I always thought it would be darker than whatever we expected, right? Like, it's not going to be like E.T., like phone home, hello. Like, that's kind of not, I thought it's going to be something really dark. And that's the reason why they would cover it up, And so that's why when I have heard some of these hypotheses, I've kind of gone back to of like, okay, well, maybe it's in the water, right? And they've been living with us this whole time, or maybe we're in some kind of prison planet, or like, maybe it is some kind of future human thing. We can manipulate time and like, we don't even realize it. Like, to me, that's really, really dark. But what are your thoughts?
Red Panda said this to me a long time ago, and it just always stuck with me, which is that like we have to consider that what they are keeping from us is so jarring. And so, like what would you do if you had to keep it secret? What could you find out about this phenomenon that would allow you to keep it secret? It's got that darkness you mentioned kind of like definitely goes in there. I think like it's super dark. It has the potential to be very dark. It has the potential to, we sit here, we think, hey, politicians, you guys have the answers. Why aren't you telling us? You guys must be in on the take or something. But what if the truth was so dark that anyone who heard it, no matter how staunch of a disclosure advocate they were, when they heard it, it forced them to rethink that dynamic, that paradigm. I think there's a lot of options for that, a lot of room for that to happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why I think that, seeing some of those options and thinking about them, like, I think that seems like it could be more true than what other people are expecting. Maybe that's part of the reason why we get such a crazy reaction when you present some of those ideas to people. And then another follow-up theory on that is that, this is just my opinion from what I've kind of learned over the last 6 months, is that I think there's way less like government operatives sowing disinformation than what people think. I think that it's just the nature of people in general that are divisive and have different opinions, right? And everybody's mistrusting of everybody else. That's why it's like, going back to the Corbell thing, I almost think like maybe they're just telling the truth, right? Like, and I don't know if maybe this one time or in general, but maybe they're just telling the truth there. And I think that if the UFO community could stop assuming that every other person is disinformation and not say I was guilty of this myself in the past, then maybe we could find a path forward. I don't know.
That seems to be one of the things that is a big holdup for people. The bottleneck is, how do we take what this is and then move forward? Red earlier gave disclosure since 2017. He gave it a B-. That's his grade.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
What kind of grade would you give it?
Oh, I'm giving it like a F-, honestly. It's been 7 years, right, since then.
Yeah.
And what's really been accomplished? Like, I would say the best accomplishment is that more people are thinking about it now, right? Like, we've probably gone from like,
that's interesting,
35 or 40% of people think that there could be aliens or UFOs, to now maybe there's like 55%. Like, and that's not nothing, but we've seen these videos have come out. I mean, I don't want to like crap on Corbell. I think he's doing a good job to try to get anomalous stuff out there to the public. But he's put out, in my time that I've been watching, I don't know, 4 or 5 different videos, and none of them have really, gotten huge amounts of traction. Like, yeah, some of them engage some debate, but it's nothing where like, I mean, I hate to compare back to my own situation, but the MH370 videos to me is like the gold standard of like, okay, you've got undeniably something going on there. We can see it in super high def, and it's like, that's what I would want to see from the UFO community. I want somebody to come out there, have some connections, get a crazy video, and be like, here you go, world, like, deal with this. And they talk about it. That's the worst part. Like, Lou Elizondo talks about the 23-minute video, and these videos where you can clearly something is anomalous is going on. Like, show us those, right? That's what I think this community needs.
I agree. And you know, it seems like the disclosure process is doing a fair amount of cultural kind of influence or social engineering to get people in the right like mindset for something, right? Which is weird in the sense where like I feel like disclosure is about the basis of it, the root of it is about getting this information out there for everybody to see, getting this information out there, you know, for us all to digest. And if the people within the disclosure process actually have answers that they're purposefully time releasing for some type of cultural or social effect, that kind of puts them in the same the same boat as, you know, the people they're trying to take the disclosure from or the secrecy from and put in there. And because of that reason, I think I would give it a D minus. It's like
not as harsh as me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's borderline failing. That's my opinion. If you guys have any thoughts about that, please leave it in the comment.
Mean, people are still making money though, right? Like that's the thing is that, and I'm very uncomfortable with that whole idea, which is kind of funny to me when people say that like I'm grifting people and I've never asked for money, never sold it. There's people out there selling everything. They're selling their time, they're selling their appearances, books, you know, movies, comic books, everything out there related to the phenomenon and various investigations that they do, right? And some of that irks me. This is part of the reason why I didn't do any of that, is that like I want it to be a pure investigation, not bound by any other, you know, strings. And then you have so much of that in the UFO community. It does make me question some of it, where it's like, how incentivized are some of these people to even get to that truth, right? To expose it, because once they do, then you got to find something else to do, right? Or, I mean, granted, like you can still, you know, tell people what the implications are going to be, but feels like it answering a lot of people don't want the answers, in my opinion.
They don't. I mean, you know, you don't really know. We don't know what it is. So like, you know, if we sit out there and we think that it's going to be, you know, all good, then it, you know, there's a chance to not be. So people might not want it when it shows up. They really might. We're gonna try to get over to Red real quick and see how he's doing. Bear with us 1 second. All right, Red, how you doing? Are you in the mix?
Audio's in the mix.
Audio Red.
What happened with my camera though?
Listen, dude, I saw it happen in real time. There's a curse, right? Like it literally was working all day, and then all of a sudden the thing happened.
Well, then I charged it too for like hours before this started.
No, you're good to go. I back that up. I back up Red's preparedness for this. If you guys enjoyed the technical difficulties screen, I mean, listen, we're working hard to make the show as like entertaining as possible. We love that you guys came here from Twitter Spaces. We love it. Comment in the chat. I'm seeing Cataclysm Zim. That's great to see you, Zim, dude. He gives it a C minus. C minus. Not a bad grade. I gave it a D minus. So you know, Zim's a little bit more. He's getting there. We're getting there.
Can we turn down the audio or the music now?
It's actually, I think it's pretty much quiet down. It's gone. You hear it pretty loudly, Red?
I'm trying to think, where am I hearing that from? I do hear it.
No, it's pretty quiet. It's
do you hear it, Ashton?
No, it's very quiet in the background. Although I got this bar in my face here.
We got to get rid of that bar. Hold on.
I'm creeping on the questions.
There we go.
Okay. There we are. Awesome.
So let's try this. So Ashton was talking about that clip earlier. Let's go ahead and watch it. Let's see how this works. Right.
Test this out.
Let's do it. We're gonna.
Chad, are you excited? We got clips and sound. I mean, this is
clips and sound. Are you ready for this? Boom. We got Corbell. We got giant Corbell.
That's me 2 more years of UFO Twitter. That's me.
So this is a clip Ashton was talking about. So let's go ahead and just play it. And if anything sticks out to you, we could pause live and we're all reacting to it live. Let's go. Oh, Tupa's gone now too.
I was teasing. You're good.
All right, ready, set. Let's watch this. First off, any thought? Never mind. Let's just press play. Okay.
So I was talking with Commander Fravor the other day, and he shared some information that came to him that was just, email style. But George, it was passage material. And I don't know if people on our podcast know what that means, but sometimes in SAPs or special access programs, they have what they call passage material. It's material that is leaked to people. But the thing is that this material is being passed around to people, like even Commander Fravor, where they're trying to kind of convince him that Lockheed Martin, as an example, had some sort of similar technology to what he saw. First of all, he laughed. He's like, if people knew my job right now, they would know that I know that is not true. So it was just, he said it to me as like an alert. Have you seen this before? And I said, I have. Do you understand what's happening, Commander? And he goes, I do. So basically, it's a really interesting story, and it has a lot of real information in it. But there is a core fake information in there. They call it passage material. It was eventually, I can backtrace it, reverse engineer it, where it comes from an agency. And I'm just going to say it, man. Why does the CIA have a completely different methodology of shaping the emerging UAP narrative?
Huh. So there's that clip.
That's good enough. Yeah. That's pretty interesting, right? So he clearly thinks that Lockheed Martin couldn't have made this technology, right? What are your guys' thoughts there?
I find it interesting that the CIA tried to convince Fravor that that's what it was, if we're to believe all these people. 80,000 feet to 20,000 feet in less than a second is a thing that's still, if any country had that, if Lockheed had that, that would be crazy.
That's why I like it though, right? Because it's crazy. It's like, man, would we really be this secretly advanced? And this is why, like, I've been digging into the history now, going all the way back to the Philadelphia experiment in 1943. And I'm just like, is it really possible? Like, could we actually have already figured this out tens of years ago? Right? I'm starting to think that we could have, which is wild. So
looked into that. So your read as of now is that that's like real. I've kind of like semi looked into the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest with you, I've been told by people that are like better historians that it's not real, or that it might just be a story or something. But I don't know. I listened to Al Bialik, and the way he tells the story about it and being built, and how it was the ship was specifically built for the experiment so that they could have the degaussers and toroidal magnets like in the right locations. That to me rang pretty true. And I've been told that maybe he like just adopted that story. I'm actually planning on hopefully talking to somebody on one of my next podcasts about it. But, you know, if you really think about it, it's like, why not? Right? If Einstein, you know, and we're still using Einsteinian physics here and Newtonian physics. Yeah. The question is, it's just a matter of like bending gravity or bending space-time, right, around an object. Why couldn't we have figured it out around the same time we dropped the nuclear bomb, right? It's to some degree, there's a certain common thread between those two: fusion, fission, bending gravity, you know, so I don't know. I personally, yeah, I'm starting to think that it could be possible. I'm not 100% sure, but it's crazy. And that's one of those things too, like going back to what we were just talking about, like what are one of these things that would be so dark and crazy that it would be hard to admit to? Well, if we've had this for like 80 years and we could have been like, be a lot more advanced than we are right now from the public perspective, that's a pretty big scandal, right? That's a pretty big scandal. And how did we figure that out? Was it related to Roswell or something else?
Yeah, I love that question. Chat, what would the secret have to be for you to co-sign the cover-up and all the dirty, nasty, disgusting things that and what's the word I'm thinking of entails? Yeah.
You mean like for it to give amnesty and be like, okay, it's all good. Yeah, it was good. It was a good.
For you to be like, you know what, it was worth sending these guys to jail for the rest of their lives.
Killing people.
Killing people. Yeah. What would it have to be?
Yeah.
For me, I think, what if disclosure meant everyone died or something like that? Would you still do it?
If everybody died? If it's just like, if they find out, then the aliens just wipe us out? Is that the scenario you're proposing?
Yeah. And they start again.
No. That's not worth it.
That's not worth it? Okay.
No. Like, I want my disclosure to improve the quality of life on Earth. I think a lot of people see it that way. I don't want my disclosure like at the cost of that. You know, that seems like not worth it. It's like, let's just say when you pass away, or like when you're no longer physical, you might be blessed with all the information you didn't have. I'll wait for it. I'd rather have that than sacrifice a bunch of other stuff, like humans or humanity, just to get this little secret, personally.
So that's really dark, right? Because if that's true and the nature of this phenomenon is some type of technological doomsday, right? Now you have, in my mind, a justifiable reason to cover it up, like what you just said. I think that there's a lot of people out there that would say, yes, it would still be worth it. And like that, I've asked a lot of people that, right? But I think that if you look at the government and the bureaucracy of it, they would go, oh, no, this is national defense. This is a justifiable reason to lie to people, potentially silence people. And that's what's scary, is it kind of rings a little bit true when you think about it. You're like, okay, maybe that's what's going on. Right now, that's my opinion on why it's being hidden, is that this national defense reasons, and potentially it could be like some kind of cataclysmic event type doomsday event situation. We just spoiled disclosure for you guys. There it is.
That's what's happening. There's people that believe that, by the way. So it's like a meme, but it's also not.
Well, I mean, people are building bunkers, I don't know. We don't really know why those people are building bunkers. All the rich people,
Bro, it sucks that you like fell out with Kim.com before like the fucking apocalypse.
You got plenty of backup bunkers, dude.
Can't get that bunker love, dude.
No, I've got plenty of other backup bunker invites. Don't worry about me.
Nice.
You guys need to hook up with the Air bunker people. Actually, well, I'll just go with Keemstar. We'll just get in his bunker.
Yeah.
Keemstar, we're coming, buddy.
We're coming. If the
better have
apocalypse
3 extra
happens,
spots.
yeah, we need just a couple cots, dude. Yeah, I'm not much of a doomer. Like, I know we got some doomers in the chat. It's good to see you guys out here. Like, I think that there's a good chance that a lot of this kind of apocalyptic stuff that is in the air isn't so much prescient as it is, or it's not so much of a premonition, right, as it is like a symbolic kind of change, right? Like, if the technology that has been held back from the public knowledge is worth holding back, is worth keeping a secret, then it's probably so different. It probably opens up something. It's not just like, this thing can fly over here. It's like the byproduct of that flying over there, it produces pure water, or it produces like something bananas, like diamonds or something, like just something that would totally change everything. And that change, I think, is enough for humans, the subconscious of humanity, to slowly pick up and then try to process in a lot of ways. And I think one of those ways is apocalyptic visions, because it in many ways could be the end of all things that we know of, and that could be it could cause a lot of crises for people. And so I feel like dreams and these premonitions that people have about this, and the feeling of in the air about the doomsday stuff, it just might reflect that, like a new change coming. But
yeah, the psychological aspect cannot be understated either, right? I think that the big concern, I think, too, would be of some of this, if it does mean there's we're in some kind of matrix situation, right? That holographic principle, there's definitely a question of are people going to freak out, right? And how many people? It's not even a matter of are people. It's like, what percentage of people are going to have their minds get shattered, right? If that's even 10, 20%, that's a lot of people. There's 8 billion people on this planet. Right? Is people going to lose their minds and start going postal and other weird stuff, right? Not to mention the socioeconomic stuff, right? You said, if they could create diamonds, I think a more practical example that's similar would be just alchemy in general. Like, if we can produce synthetic materials that are 100% pure, right? Like Breaking Bad, but we can make gold, right? And now, the price of gold will also, of course, crash. And what's that going to do to the various economies of the world?
Yeah. And there's going to be a shuffle. And I think people kind of sense that too. But
I think if you're ahead of the game too, you can kind of take advantage though, right? Like, if you know that this phenomenon is going to be dark like that, you can anticipate okay, well, maybe there's certain markets I don't necessarily want to be in, and other ones that you do, maybe technological ones. I'm not sure. You guys got some donos. Do you want to call those people out?
Yeah, let's do it. So technical difficulties, guys, by the way. The super chats aren't showing up, but we're going to get that synced up later on. That's that was one of our biggest things, is seeing the chat and getting you guys comments in there. We got a comment from Buddy James. Let's go. He said Tupa and Red Scissor. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but I love buddies. That's cool to see you in here, man.
Oh, I know what that means.
$10. So yeah, also Tupa said, and I don't know what the hell's going on with my charging of my camera, bro, but yeah, usually when we're running this on Tupa's thing, we were able to pull it up, but we can't. So what we're gonna do is we're making little banners for you. So yeah, so it'll be going down to the bottom of the feed all thing.
Thank
we're
you.
Working
Red.
on the fly. We'll do it live.
We're gonna get this guys figured out. But yeah, Buddy also said we got we got a request from Stoned Ape. She says, tuba and red make out. Now that's going to be tough. We're not in the same room. We're not pulling a Cahill Zondo situation. We're not in the same building during the live stream. So I don't know how much making out we can do, but Stoned Ape, we appreciate the vibes you're sending out there.
Ooh, I like this one. I want to read this one. William Bill. So Bill says, take it from an old man with wisdom. The power elite has designs on world dominance and is almost there.
Really?
Honestly, I kind of agree with that, and I'm really loving writing that in the banner thing.
Yeah, William Bill's a good guy. He's been following me for a long time. Nice guy. Yeah, appreciate everybody here in the chat as well. So UFOs around the world in there. Logan just joined. Hey,
Logan's
Ocean
in the mix. Now I don't know how dangerous it is to willy-nilly scroll through the comments instead of highlighting them, so I don't get a chance to screen them. But this is one way we can see the comments, right? This is one way we can do it.
You can play it like that if necessary.
Yep.
Let me know what you do, Ashton, on your stream, right? I feel like you have it always up there.
Nah, it's funny because people are praising my stream, but my stream's so low tech. It's like I just like pull it up on the front screen and just share my whole window. But I gotta get like it set up like you guys have. Now I see this like super globe in the background too. Like, damn, you guys got some dope graphics going on right now.
We hooked it up, dude. You know what I mean?
Are you guys doing UFO Twitter week, by the way? I'm gonna shout that out.
Not yet, but we're down for the community. So yeah, when is that happening, Ashton? UFO Twitter week's this week?
I don't know actually. I think
when does it start? Okay, maybe it starts tomorrow.
As of now, we're at the Kent table.
Oh, are you at the Kent table?
No. UFO Twitter week, not Contact in the Desert.
Oh no, yeah.
I'm talking about UFO Twitter week. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, the Kent table. Shout out to Kent. We love it. The UFO Twitter week has been going on for I think about a year and a half, 2 years now. And at first I thought it was going to be 1 week a year. Like, okay, let's just go in on this. And then it ended up being like Shark Week for Discovery Channel, where they're just they're just like, hey, it's
Shark Week all the time,
dude, all year, but whenever you want it. When ratings are low, you go for that. Now it was created by Astro. For those who don't know, Astro, I got to find his handle. Astro on UFO Twitter has been doing like remote viewing spaces every Thursday for well over a year. He's got quite a following over there. If you guys want to know more about remote viewing or go check that out, I definitely suggest it. He's in my follow, so go to Skyfire, go to Tupacabra, go to Red Panda, and you'll find Astral in there. And then he's also been doing this thing called UFO Twitter Week, which we love, but also it is reminiscent of Shark Week in a good way. So definitely go check it out there. Go support. They got spaces going all week. And if I can find like a roster, I'll kind of
here you go.
Here. Oh, look at that. Yes.
Nice work.
I will say that I can't see that.
What are our highlights? Yeah, I had to make it huge. Dogman. With Tony Merkel and Fringe. I'm going to go to that one, chat. Dogman. Is it Smoking Dogman?
Ooh.
So yeah, let's do
the Smoking Dogman.
I like the weirdest cryptids, like the Mothman or like the Flatwoods monster, the ones that people don't really know about.
All right, there we go. Oh, is that a little too much? Let's a little bit too. We're
Zoomer Space. Oh, John Brandenburg. Yeah, I'm going to that one too.
There we go. Okay, here we go. So March 25th. This is what, next week?
Yeah, next week.
So March 25th is what, a Monday? Yeah. So next Monday is when UFO Twitter Week starts.
Beautiful.
The Monroe Institute, remote viewing and astral projection, UAP disclosure with Nick Gold. Hell yeah.
Gold. Dude, we like Nick Gold.
Okay, he doesn't like you back though.
He doesn't like me back. But that just sounds so funny.
We still love you, Nick.
Dogman with Tony Merkel and Fringe. Nice. Get it, Fringe. Future Folklore with Joel, Chris, and Ariel. UFO Book Club with Anomalous Librarian, Sheikh, and Ahmed. The Doomer Space with Ulrich, Reed Summers, and John Brandenburg. Hold up. Where's Stoned Ape on that? Huh.
Stoned Ape.
With Vinny Adams, Stan Z, Paul Sinclair, Digby, David Young, and Oak. UFO Research Group with Mellow Demon. Hey, Mellow Demon, how's it going? And Money Penny.
Shout out to Mellow Demon and Money Penny.
Abduction with James Bartley and Fringe. Ooh, Fringe has got 2. Nice. Remote viewing with Astral and Daz Smith. Hell yeah, double remote viewing for the week. Consciousness and Disclosure with Hollywood, estimate of the situation, and Grant Cameron. Ooh, I think estimate might be in the chat right now. I didn't know you were on the consciousness panel. Very cool,
dude. That's gonna be awesome. Wasn't Grant Cameron just with vetted too? Like they were talking about Tim Taylor or whatever. Dude, Grant Cameron's an interesting researcher from Canada.
Yeah, for sure. And then what UFOs and paranormal activity with Hollywood and Steve Mera, nice. UFO Lake Group, UAP Mike and Cosmic Dahlia. I love the rebrand. Unhidden and UAP Med with Ted Rowe and John Priestland. UFO Community Creators with Astral, Estimate of the Situation, Old Vet, and Nora.
I haven't heard from Old Vet in a while.
I hope he's doing well.
You have to join one of the spaces.
UFO Sightings in Contact, Sean and Chase. Then we got The Others with Hollywood and Whitley Strieber. That's kind of a big name.
Hollywood's in a lot, huh?
Yeah. That UFO Podcast, Paul's Portal and Andy. Nice. I think I retweeted that one already too. And then Paradigm Media Group with Cortex Zero and Digby. Very cool. Very fun.
Disclosure is on the way, folks.
Yes, sir. All right. So maybe we should start getting into some of these news stories. Bro, Actually, real quick, I'm going to go take my camera to charge like in a different room because I don't know. I feel like maybe it's not charging right here.
That's cool. We'll fill the air for you.
Cool.
Wasn't that the UFO hate group? No, that's not what we call them anymore. That's not PC anymore. Now it's the UFO lake group.
They're the lake group. They've rebranded.
Yeah.
And it sounds, it rhymes.
Smart.
So it's kind of an easy transition, you know, so
Just
slide right in there. You know what I
Definitely.
mean? And that's good. That's good. Well, no one wants to be associated with something like that, right? So it's kind of a good deal. Now, Hollywood has been around a lot and a lot of different community efforts. And I just kind of commend that. I think that the community is where this is at. Although I do love, you know, getting little slow drips. We got our Corbells and all that stuff. And, you know, even like the Bledsoes and all kinds of stuff. But I've been at the same time, we got people within the community, independent researchers who are willing to go out there and make a difference. And then they share that information freely with the community through UFO Twitter. And it's just an amazing time to be looking up this stuff, to be involved in it at all, because there's progress happening even when it's not happening at an official level.
You know, one thing I didn't see on that list was mummies with Nazca mummies with Megan. Where was that, Megan? Where you need to set up a space there? Yeah,
I could not agree more. I see Megan in the chat too. Megan, you are the I think the leading voice for the mummies in terms of the UFO Twitter ambassador, and we need you to dive in. And I think Astral, if you're out there, it's not too late to change that graphic and just kind of fit her in there, because I think we would all need to know a little bit more about it. Like, it's
I think it's a big thing, right? Like, what if those are real? What if those are real? Like, I mean, like as Shane was saying, if those are real, it's like that's full disclosure. I love the way he mentions it. It's like full disclosure. It really is. I mean, that's alien bodies, man. If that's like literally real, then those are aliens right there. Like, how'd they get here? Where'd they come from? Right?
Yep. What do you think about the mummies being crypto-terrestrial versus extraterrestrial?
Oh, I love me some crypto-terrestrials. Let's be honest. I think that, I that's what I would even say. I would, if they end up being real, I think the narrative immediately shifts probably to them. They'll be like, no, they're not from outer space. They're, I don't know, some kind of splinter organism. But that's where we'd have to have their DNA, right? Like, I don't know how else we'd figure it out.
Well, the fact that they have DNA at all, for me, I'm like human or earthling, earthbound. If they, you know, it looks whatever it could be, but I think you're right. Like if it turns out to be a real thing, if they are real, then I think they're going to be like, okay, well, they're just not extraterrestrial. They are, you know, whatever. My family's Polynesian, and I brought this up to my dad a while ago. Like, like what do you think these things are? And I was talking like UFOs, right? And these little aliens or whatever. And he very, very quickly responded to me and was like, oh, like those are those things. Like, back at the island, like we used to have them, like they're all over. Like look at all the carvings of these little guys with big eyes. Why? What do you think those carvings are of? And he's like, they fly these little shit. Like he goes, we've seen those ships. They're small. People can't fit in those. And I'd never had a conversation with my dad about UFOs or aliens, like not in depth, you know what I mean? And that was his response to me. And so then I started to look into all the art and the culture and the stories. And there is like, it's very much like Lou Elizondo's story about the little people or little warriors of the Peoria Mountains in Wyoming.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. But like he describes, while talking about what if everything we heard about, I'm gonna find that video. Like, what if everything we thought we knew about the world was different? What if how we thought we got here was different? And then talks about these little people, these little warriors that are around we just forgot about. And then he also mentioned something interesting that I think would really spark people like Jimmy Corsetti and these other people, or doomers even, right? That every 12,000 years, the surface of the earth, it recycles. Right?
Yeah, no, all this stuff is kind of connected, right? Like that's why
yeah.
Cosmic Summit this summer, I'll do a shout out to them. I'm not necessarily presenting, but I'm going to be there. It brings all these people together, like sacred geometry, ancient history, archaeology, some UFOlogy as well, and then like high technology, I think is another way to call it, not just like advanced technology, but like low energy nuclear reactions, cold fusion, vortex generator, all that stuff, as well as like there might be a connection to all this stuff. Like if we have, I think maybe Lou Elizondo said it, but like what whoever, you tell me, you guys correct me in the chat, but said something about like we might be a species with amnesia. I forget who said that, honestly.
Sounds like a Louism.
Yeah, it does kind of sound like a Louism, but I can't remember. Maybe it was Graham Hancock. Not sure.
God, I was going crazy trying to find my mute button. Graham Hancock, 100%. It was Graham.
Is it?
Wait, is that music still going, right?
We are a species with amnesia.
Yeah,
is the thing.
Are we just going to give that music the entire time? Can we cut it a little bit? So let's get into some news.
Let's do it.
Let's get right into the news.
I've been wanting to use that this whole time. There we go.
Okay. Which one is this? The project. Okay, so
we need that music.
Let's first start. Oh, so we need. So first things first. From this comes from Project Unity, right? Just kind of a collage of all the different Boeing things. So I figured first we'll talk about this Boeing whistleblower a little bit. I figured we have Ashton here, right? The plane guy.
Yeah.
Talk about like the plane whistleblower and all that stuff. And just like since January, even it seems like every other week and going up in frequency, there's some like issues with Boeing planes. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ashton, was it MH370 a Boeing plane?
Oh yeah, 100%. Boeing 777. Yeah, I guess I'm the planes and orbs guy. It's like, I don't know if you guys watch
exactly.
you guys watch Rick and Morty, or like goblets and orbs. It's like, well, for me, I'm planes and orbs, I guess. Yeah, I mean, how many instances is this? I was actually talking to my parents the other day about this because I'm like, guys, isn't this getting kind of weird, right? And they're like, oh no, they probably always happen and just never talked about it. I'm like, no, there's like 7 incidents where like it started a couple of weeks ago when that one plane like landed and blew up another plane. And then since then, it's just been disaster. Doors coming off, wheels coming off. The wheel coming off the one plane hits the ground, starts rolling, goes through a chain link fence and wipes out like 4 cars, right? Like these wheels are huge. Like it easily kills somebody. Like this stuff is nuts.
And I hate the gaslighting too. What you just said, it reminds me of like a year ago when all those trains are derailing and people would hella gaslight you and just be like, no, this just happens like all the time. You just didn't notice it before. It's like, dude, there's been like 30 Boeing accidents in like the past 2 weeks.
Dude, the one where the engine like just apparently stops and the plane drops like 500 feet, and they're talking about like people getting stuck to the top of the plane and then it comes back down and they just hit the ground. Some people were in like serious condition after that. Like, wear your seatbelts, folks. Wear those seatbelts.
So, and now that's transitions into this whole conversation about this Boeing whistleblower, right? So this was reported that this person had passed away, right? And he was a big time whistleblower. So I got this clip queued up. Let's see. And we're going to listen to what he was saying like before he died. And then we're going to watch what his friend said. So here's what he was saying before he passed away.
One, this is not a 737 problem. It's a Boeing problem. And I know the FAA's gone in and they've done due diligence and inspections to assure that the door plugs of the 737 are installed properly and the fasteners are torqued properly. But my concern is, what's the rest of the airplane? What's the rest of the condition of the airplane? And the reason my concern for that is back in 2012, Boeing started removing inspection operations off their jobs. So it left the mechanics to buy off their own work. So what we're seeing with the door plug blowout is what I've seen with the rest of the airplane, as far as jobs not being completed properly, inspection steps being removed, issues being ignored. My concerns are with the 737 and the 787, because those programs have really embraced the theory that quality is overhead and non-value added. So those two programs have really put a strong effort into removing quality from the process. When I first started working at Charleston, I was in charge with pushing back defects to our suppliers. And what that meant was I'd take a group of inspectors and actually go to the supplier and inspect their product before they sent it in. Well, I'd taken a team of 4 inspectors to Spirit Aerosystems to inspect the 41 section before they sent it to Charleston. And we found 300 defects. Some of them were significant that needed engineering intervention. When I returned to Charleston, my senior manager told me we had found too many defects and he was going to take the next trip. So the next trip he went on, he took 2 of my inspectors. And when they got back, they were given accolades for only finding 50 defects. So I pulled that inspector aside and I said, did Spirit really clean up their act that quick? That don't sound right. And she was mad. She said, no. Said the 2 inspectors were given 2 hours to inspect the whole 41 section and they were kicked off the airplane.
Okay, so just a little, maybe we'll just leave it like on the shot like that while we talk about him. But yeah, looking into this more, he's basically like in charge of a lot of like security and safety stuff. And apparently he had been notifying the his superiors within Boeing about this stuff, and they kind of were just kind of ignoring him. And then he started going whistleblower mode, right? Shout out to all the whistleblowers. And yeah, just kind of blowing the whistle, and like the timing of like all this Boeing stuff going like AWOL, right? And then to have this guy, and so it should be said that apparently his family did say he had mental health issues, but we'll watch this clip coming up next where his friend had said that he wasn't suicidal. The people at the hotel, New York Post, I think, called a bunch of them under the guise of anonymity or whatever. They said that he seemed normal, right? And then so this is what the friend had to say, right? And then we could just kind of just like let it go with the wait, who's this in the thing? Wait. What is this? What are you guys going on here, Ashton?
Bring that up. Bring that up.
Are you serious? What is it?
Yeah, bring This is my response
This is your response?
to this guy supposedly killing himself.
Okay.
Oh Lord!
I thought that was like a real
I can't stop
person.
thinking about it. This is a real person.
No, I know, but I thought like alive right now when it was like a little tiny window. Okay, that's what's up.
Sorry, I get too much. I can't get enough of that.
No, it's real though. Like all this, we have a week long or more, right? A series of news stories that are highlighting Boeing failures that seem a little above, the normal kind of failure, right? So, then at the peak of it, a whistleblower turns up dead, and he's straight up talking about the Boeing like stuff. So, I mean, no, I don't think a lot of people really didn't have conspiracy theories in mind when they heard that news.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was jumping on it, right? Because it's just like too obvious.
Yeah,
and Boeing as well is one of these defense contractors. I don't know if people realize that, but not only do they just make giant planes for commercial purposes, but they're big defense contractors.
They're in the mix.
So we should be worried when planes are falling apart. We should be worried when there's guys whistleblowing, and then when they shoot
make
themselves
bombers
or whatever. It's pretty scary.
Bombing. They're Boeing in the mix. Totally is in the mix with some UFO shit. But let's listen to his friend.
But aren't you scared? And he said, and his voice and the way he would talk. No, I ain't scared. He said, but if anything happens to me, it's not suicide. I know that he did not commit suicide. There's no way. He loved life too much. He loved his family too much. He loved his brothers too much to to put them through what they're going through right now.
And he basically told you not to believe it.
But aren't you?
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, usually when people say that they're not suicidal, whatever, you kind of got to listen to them. But this is why, like, even you have to say it firsthand, though, right? Like, this is why I said it. I don't even know how many times, dozens of times. And you know what? Just for good measure, not suicidal right now. Just make sure we got that out there. Never hurt myself, right? Because you got to have it from the person directly. Otherwise, people are just going to say, like, oh, well, they're just like in denial over it, right? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Like, it's sad, but you got to say it like multiple times. If you're blowing the whistle, this is just, Ashton's advice to all other whistleblowers out there, especially ones that are doing it for defense contractors. Just say you wouldn't hurt yourself like once a week. Like just once a week. It's healthy.
Dude, Ashton, it takes me back to that when you thought you got the PDF thing or whatever, when you got scammed and you were like, they're gonna kill me, like screenshot everything, like on the run.
I mean, if that had been real, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
like,
oh,
I was kind of tongue in cheek, but yes, yeah.
That was like one of the best live stream moments of all time.
That was iconic. That was definitely iconic. We're trying to get some soundboards in here. That was the cha-ching, dude. I love the cha-ching.
The cha-ching is great. Is crazy. We want to get sound. We want to get soundboards in here. All that stuff.
The cha-ching is crazy. Okay, for sure. Well, I guess that kind of transitions into right. I mean, unless anyone else has any more thoughts on the Boeing thing, let's see what the chat's actually saying about this Boeing thing. Any interesting?
I mean, it's only tangentially related to the UFO community, right? But I think that the fact they're a defense contractor puts them in the spotlight, for sure. Yeah, especially because their planes are just falling apart. I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? It's just unacceptably ridiculous.
And I saw multiple people within the community being like, this is why whistleblowers don't come forward, right? So it's kind of been for better or worse, appropriated, you could say, by the UFO community, like what the fuck's been happening over here, or what's been happening over here. And I think that is kind of a valid point. So maybe before we get into the AARO report, we should watch this clip that we put up on Skyfire with Chris Mellon talking about a whistleblower who had like come out to try and speak to him, right? That was apparently working in one of these reverse engineering programs and whatnot. So let's watch the clip and then react to it. Okay. Ready? Here we go.
One of the allegations is that the U.S. recovered either an object that landed and was left undamaged or something that was crashed, maybe more than one occasion, and that the material was provided to some of our aerospace companies that build our most advanced aircraft and so forth for them to try to research and understand. And therefore, that may be a source of knowledge and information, and they may actually possess some of these materials. So they wanted to include that in the scope of this inquiry and this new legislation.
Because there is the possibility that there may be reverse engineered technology in private companies.
Right. Doesn't mean that they succeeded in reverse engineering, but one of the stories is, one of the allegations is, and I was supposed to meet a fellow, for example, who supposedly was in one of these aerospace companies and supposedly had been directly involved in that activity. And we were about 2 weeks away from meeting when he died, when he had a heart attack. And, can't say, whether that was true or not, but that's one of the allegations. And it makes sense because if you're the government and say you recovered some debris and there were complex components and materials, right? You wanted to keep it secret, but have world-class technicians and scientists try to understand it. It would be natural that you would go to Lockheed Martin or Raytheon or Grumman or some of those companies.
All right. So I remember when that first broke, like in 2022, I want to say. It was kind of like a whoa. And a lot of people in the comments were like, note to whistleblowers, do not talk to Chris Mellon. But I don't know, man. It's a big statement coming from him, right? And like to put that out there, I personally think there's some really dark and dirty things that go on and to keep this stuff a secret. And yeah, I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, why do these military defense contractors have private security, right? I mean, yes, they might have some for, you know, not being hacked or whatever, but they've got like armed guards, like ex-military people, mercs, you know. I think that just it's a little scary. It wouldn't surprise me if they would and could silence people that are out there. I think they definitely have the crafts. I mean, just listen to how Puthoff said on Jesse Michaels with Eric Davis, right? Literally says that they set the system up in this way. This is what allows the government to be shielded from FOIA requests related to it because it's not technically the government that has it, right? And this goes back to the AARO report, which we'll talk about in a little bit too, where it's like, what words are they using? You know, they're being very specific with their language so they can have plausible deniability.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let me try and find if somebody clipped that little part because there was a section in there, right? Well, within the AARO report, which we're kind of going to get to next, but like there was that whole like blank section, right? Like from like the late 70s to like through the 80s, right? Which is kind of when the FOIA stuff started. And then there was that section, let's see if where they were like, we talked to defense contractors, and then they said they didn't have anything. And they like didn't even like list what defense contractors they spoke to, or like, you know what I mean? And you know, if Terrestrial Materials in the chat, honestly, bro, if you're in the chat, DM me on Twitter, you could hop in right now.
Tiffany's thirsty in the chat right now.
That they were pulling a trust me, bro. That Kirkpatrick's report was kind of like trust me, bro, on the other way of like, we looked into it. It's not. There was even some statements in there, bro, that were like, and honestly, most all their UFO sightings are probably this. And it's like, how could you say that though? Like, you couldn't even really know that. Like, this weird blanket thing. And some people were saying this online. I personally think it was so bad it was kind of good in a way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some of the ways these cases are being spoken about, or certain just sections of American history just being completely ignored. Against the mandate of Congress, I think hopefully pissed off like all the right people.
Were you in that space with Mike Disclosure where we were talking about this with, I think it was last night with Keemstar? But the thing is too, you got to realize like in this information war, it's not about trying to convince the people in this community because the people in this community like already know there's something going on, right? It's about keeping the lid on it for the public, the normie people. Like I mentioned the people like my parents, for example, right? Because those are the people that didn't believe in it anyway. And if the media tells them there's nothing to it, then that's what they're going to believe, right? It's about trying to slow it down.
Yeah, and here's the section I was talking about. Shout out Space Cowboy 78 on Twitter. This is from the AARO report, right? That's kind of just for more context to anyone who hasn't been following. AARO was created, you know, per mandate of Congress to look into all this stuff. They basically released a debunking report. People are calling it Condon 2.0, Blue Book 2.0. To all the people who came from my channel, if anyone did, I'm working on a super long video about all this stuff, so it's kind of fresh in my head of just trying to get a timeline of like 2017 to today with like refutes. And a lot of people have been making some really great refutes of this report in the community. But this was them on the claims of alleged companies like defense contractors, right? Like we were talking about, like Boeing, like Lockheed. Named companies allegedly experimenting on alien technology. AARO has found no evidence that U.S. companies ever possessed off-world technology. The executive, scientists, and chief technology officers of the companies named by the interviewees met with the director of AARO and denied on the record that they have ever recovered, possessed, or engaged in reverse engineering of extraterrestrial technology. So that's pretty interesting. Any thoughts, Ashton? I saw you perk up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're being very choosy about their words here. And I think it's interesting that they claim to have those people on the record too, because that seems like there could be legal liability if those people ends up being that they were lying to some degree. But this report didn't bother me at all, and anything that I've been disclosing didn't even faze me. I don't think it debunked anything that I've been disclosing, because I've been sitting here saying the whole time that, you know, this plane's getting zapped by United States, whatever our technology. So what the origins of that technology are, I think that could be, I mean, this could actually be true and not a lie. And there's still plenty of other avenues for that to be real and the stuff we see out there to be real. So that's kind of my opinion on it. And then if they are lying about it, then I think they've kind of put themselves in some hot water here. You know, to me, the people that this hurts the most are the people that are like sure that there's alien beings visiting us from another planet, right? Because now you have to say that they must be lying about this, right? In my opinion, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think about a few things. Let's see. There's that
Yeah.
clip of John Northrop from Northrop Grumman that's kind of going around there. I'm including it in my documentary where he kind of talks about it. We have these these Boyd Bushman things, and even pertaining to this post 2017 narrative, Tom DeLonge, per his story, and people love to shit on him, but I think he's actually done. This is my controversial take in ufology. He's the most delivered on like big things coming soon, bro, in like the history of ufology, even though he didn't deliver on the spaceship. But per his story, right, he was talking with like Lockheed Martin people. And in the WikiLeaks, he was talking about like having UFO meetings with what was that dude's name? Shoot, I can't think of it. It's my Tom DeLonge video. Super high up exec, and then even after the fact, Steve Justice, who ran the Skunk Works division within Lockheed Martin, was part of TTSA in those early years. So I don't know, and I get the whole like we don't want to dox people, but like I feel like they should like I would like to see. I feel like if they really wanted to be like case closed on this thing, they would release the names, release the transcripts of the interview. If anything, release the audio thing of the interview too, right? Which is that kind of ties into something else that some of these other quote unquote whistleblowers were saying going into AARO that like they weren't even recording their interviews. It sounded like, and sometimes they would like overschedule people on their interviews and whatnot and have like bad issues. I feel like all this stuff should be really documented and like fleshed out, and every person should be able to click on it if they want to be like case closed on UFOs, not like we talked to people at all the top things and they said no. It's like, well, what companies at least even did you talk to? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like how is this even considered on the record? Like they literally didn't give us the names of anybody or anything that they did. How is this on the record? If anything, it seems like this is off the record. I could be wrong.
And then to use this as like the definitive, like boom, no, it's kind of weak.
It's like give us some names. Who said what? What quote them directly, right? Like what were their exact words, you know? And this is why like I feel like I'm expecting to get a response back from AARO now finally. Like, of course, because it's government, it's taken them like 3 months to get back to me. And they said they're gonna answer my questions, which I asked a bunch of questions about, like, do you check into this stuff? I feel like I'm gonna get gaslit so hard by these guys, right? They're gonna say, oh yeah, no, we looked in Edward C. Lynn, and no, it was just like some pictures. Don't even think about it. Don't worry about it. You're crazy to think about it. And then
Dude,
oh yeah, we looked in Lockheed Martin. They don't have anything special. They just came out with this new cool plane. Have you seen it? Like, dude.
I'm so ready for you to be in volume 2 of the AARO historical report of like the interview things, like how in this one they had like, it's like if you knew a little bit of the lore, like you would know exactly who they were talking about. Like interviewee said they ran ATIP, but it didn't exist. It's like, okay, they're talking about Lil Zonda. It's like interviewee came in talking about a viral video,
plane being teleported.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Orbs.
I'd hang that up if I was you.
Oh, I would definitely. I would frame that. Yeah, for sure. If that happens in the next AARO report, 100%. No, it even makes me wonder about the timing of it. Like this, I think a lot of these are just historical, right? Like I'll be honest, I didn't read through all of it, but from what I've gleaned, like a lot of the reports in there were like historical reports going all the way back to like the 60s. Is that true?
Yeah, but basically what it did was it kind of just copy and pasted like the Blue Book narrative, or like in the 90s, the CIA narrative when there was a big hoopla about it, which I said ahead of the fact too. That I was like, I feel like this is going to read like that 90s report where the CIA was like, it was all a U2 plane. They missed over a bunch of things. Some of the things they didn't do that I'm going to address in my video is like all the various whistleblowers from those eras. They skipped over a bunch of the big sightings. You know, it's just very incomplete, I'd say, for it to be the definitive thing. Which maybe let's get into
real quick. We got a comment from TKOs. Says we should talk with Joey Isn't My Name about Michael Herrera. Michael said that they lied about what he told AARO. Interesting.
Yeah, I think I heard some thing about that afterwards. He was on the interview with him, I'm pretty sure. But like, here's the thing too: there's not a lot of hard evidence, right? Like, there's a lot of stories, and then there's a lot of videos that are like not military videos of lights and stuff from far away. And then even the military videos they've been able to cast doubt on, right? Like the Nimitz and all that stuff too. Even those videos are trying to say, I think Kirkpatrick even said, like, to Mick, literally just like kind of quoted Mick West on, oh, it could be some jets flying away, right? Like, that's when I start to get worried. When people are quoting Mick West, when the official investigators are using Mick West debunks, right? Now I'm pretty sure they're lying, just because I know Mick West is a complete fraud. Like, the stuff that he says doesn't even match up to just observable reality. I don't need advanced dioramas to figure out that I'm not looking at engines of a jet in the FLIR footage, right? Like, That's clearly not what we're looking at. So when you've got people who are supposed to be the experts and the lead investigators of the AARO saying basically the same thing, now I begin to question their capabilities and their competence. I mean, just like
nice. And we also got Terrestrial Material hopping in here now. Everyone go follow him. Twitter, YouTube. We'll have a nice little panel here going. How's it going, bro?
What's up? Good to talk to you guys. You guys hear me all right?
Yep, you sound
sir.
great, man. Good to see you in
very
here.
cool.
Dude. Thanks for
Yeah,
coming through.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
thanks for the
Robby.
invite, dude. How's everybody's St. Patrick's Day going on?
Going pretty good. Mine's about to get going after the stream. You know what I mean? But
I'm not waiting. I'm not
I
waiting.
like your style.
We've been going hard.
Ashton, what? Drinking on stream? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
me
I'm
wife,
just
me
being a
wife, me
bad
wife
role
wouldn't let
model.
me have. Me wife wouldn't let me have me big bottle, but I snuck me little bottle.
There we go. Nice.
You know what I'm saying? A little Jamie for you, little Jamie. Stopping by the channel. Don't get it mistaken.
I read that today is actually the day, huh? St. Patrick's Day.
It is. It is.
So
Yeah, I
should
thought
we
it was
react to
yesterday.
some of his debunks then? Let's do that. I feel like why not?
Oh yeah, react video time. Okay.
Yeah, let's react to Kirkpatrick's debunk of the Tic Tac, right? So this is like
let's see that. Let's see it, dude.
Let's
And by
see
the
it.
way, guys, give the space. Look at me. Go ahead and like the stream, guys. Like and subscribe if you can, if you're new to the channel.
oh yeah, everyone like this stream. There's 4 likes right now. I just liked it. 5.
There's 4.
There's like 30
Wow,
people.
let's get
chatting in
that
the
up,
thing.
guys. Let's get that up.
Smash the like, huh?
Smash that like button, dude. It's our first time ever saying that and announcing that. So we got smash that button.
It's not the wrong button.
Yes. All right, so we're going to get into some debunks from AAROs.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
So this is the first one. This is on the
Kirkpatrick.
Tic Tac. So let's see what everyone thinks about this.
Uh-oh.
I testified multiple times on the fact that Tic Tac, there's some great eyewitness accounts of what is described as the Tic Tac. What was lacking is data, right? So I worked with one of the pilots to try to tease out a little bit more of what exactly was it that we were potentially witnessing, and by the descriptions of everything from water disturbance to motion, relative motion, and how you can maybe see what you're seeing. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is, I think that one, my opinion is that one is going to remain unresolved because there is no data. There is no radar data. Allegations of the secret black helicopter that came and picked up the tapes. None of that happened. There's no evidence that somebody pulled the tapes off. What does happen, and this is why we had to change the data retention policy, was all of these platforms have fixed storage or a fixed amount of storage, and they only retain the data for any given mission, maybe a day, and unless there is a problem with the platform that they use the data for diagnostics for. And then the next time that platform goes out, the data is overwritten. So there's no conspiracy in that. That's just how the military operates with these data tapes and whatnot. So we did write new policy that said, hey, look, if you're reporting a UAP, you have to save all of that data and transmit it to AARO within some period of time. So I think.
Perfect. I mean, come on, right? Like, just come on. What is he talking about here, right? He's like, first of all, we're looking at a HUD that's got all kinds of data on it. They kept the HUD information on there. And then he's trying to claim, well, there's no evidence they came in and stole the tapes and what have you. I'm like, well, what evidence would there be of that, right? It's not like someone's videotaping them do it, right? Like, it's ridiculous. Okay, sorry, I had to.
Honestly, this is a great point to talk about it, right? Because this is the one that caused all the hoopla, right? I feel like There hasn't been as much people for the gimbal and whatnot. Here you have like Alex Dietrich, female fighter pilot. We support strong females at Skyfire News. You had Fravor, right? He testified at the hearing and whatnot.
Hey, dude, I'm with Fravor, bro. I think he's seen what he's seeing. I'm with him.
Oh, I think so too. 100%.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that little bit though, where like Fravor was low-key talking smack to people who were saying the helicopter bit? He's like, that didn't happen. But then other people was like, yeah, it did. And also
the helicopter bit. Are you talking about going and picking up the hard drives or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you said he was there right when it happened. I mean, how can they say it's no evidence? Like the dude's a witness who literally testified to Congress, been on Joe Rogan. I mean, come on.
Well, dude, it's not only that. It's just that the whole statement he makes on this is outrageous. How can you say, well, we don't have enough data on the whole situation itself, right? But we have enough data that there wasn't a helicopter and the tapes are gone. Like, come on, dude. Like, where are you getting your information from? That's the most outrageous statement ever. And then I love how he adds in the old NASA excuse from the moon landings. Oh, the data, it got overwritten, man. It's gone. I don't know.
That always happens, man. That's just like the standard procedures to wipe out the data.
That's that's the sketchiest piece of official news like that I've ever heard, was that they wrote over the hard drives and like and all the data is lost. It's like,
sorry, it's good.
So the biggest, by far the biggest, like most successful like venture of humankind off of this planet, you guys just decided to tape over with like Friends finale. Like, what is going on? Like, what happened?
Hey, Friends is really good, man. We had to delete those UAP videos because of it.
We didn't think we'd go back, and then you have
let's go into the Skyfire News exclusive we had a few weeks back.
Wait, more importantly, though, what was going on with can someone address the fact that, if you can pull that back up for a second, like he's got the background blurred out and his camera is just awful. Can we get some people who've got in the official capacity, who's got a little bit better camera that's not like 480p and like, what's he blurring out that he's afraid of everybody seeing?
Some people online saying that this was a deep fake. And it was all AI.
It looks fake.
Hey, F in the chat.
It's more fake than the MH370 videos. This is like, I'm going to debunk this right now. I think I see the Pyromania VFX in his eyes there.
Right? Like, why is it purple on his eye right now? Right?
Yeah, well, was he in the club? Where is he at?
Well, he's just trying to cover up that giant new house that he just bought with all that DOE money, dude. So he wants to look a little bit more poor. He doesn't want to see how big he's living over there.
Like, this whole thing is us.
Yeah, so let's here was a Skyfire News exclusive from a few weeks back where we actually got to talk to Gary Voorhees in an alien girl space. So, and here's what here was his experiences with AARO.
So we're talking about Kirkpatrick?
Yeah, Gary, what do you think about Kirkpatrick and AARO and Grush?
I think he was put in a position where he had zero information, and he's honestly, I know for a fact, 100% he's a liar. My company has had meetings with AARO. We've literally right before he went to Congress and said he knew of no publications. We provided them with several publications from several prominent people in the field that are actual peer-reviewed publications. And he still, he just denies everything. And he thinks it's inconvenient. He just denies. I know I know that all the pilots. I know that I've provided testimony about the Nimitz encounter for him. So I mean, he's full of shit.
Bob Jacobs also said they went to AARO and is kind of ghosted.
Well, because he doesn't want to listen to anything that's actually counter to whatever it is that his bosses want to put him in a place to do. All he's basically running with is another fucking Blue Book 2.0. Fuck him.
Now that Kirkpatrick's on the way out, are you going to resubmit things to AARO?
No, I'm done dealing with AARO. We got ghosted by them once. I mean, if the new leadership shows a different feeling on it, and it's not just a government holding center for UFO data, and they're actually going to do something, then maybe.
All right, so yeah, that was a Skyfire News exclusive. Shout out Alien Girl with the alley-oop. I mean, that's just a Nimitz witness, right? Like I think he was like one of the first people. Oh no, it was the other guy, but he was one of the first people like in the chain of like reactions to like be alerted to this and whatnot. And yeah, I'm gonna go check out my camera, but y'all riff on that for a bit.
Imagine you're sitting there, right, and you are on that ship, and this crazy stuff is going on. David Fravor's story is like he went out there, saw this crazy stuff, and then they sent another jet out there after he came back, and that's where they got the video, supposedly, right? And you're one of these people in the sphere of all this, and these are your guys, your buddies that you trust more than anything, right? And then you go and like testify to either what you saw directly or the situation, and then you hear Kirkpatrick going, there's no evidence that anything really happened out there. I mean, I'd be pissed, dude. No wonder he's just taking shots at him, just straight up uppercut on them right there, right? Like he's pissed off.
No, it's a good point. I mean, it completely dismisses an experience, right? That is totally valid, right? And important. And then to have a guy come out and just because there's no official, like, you know what I mean? Like word on it to outright deny that it ever happened. Yeah, I'd be pissed off too. I'd be pissed off too.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially when Kirkpatrick just in this recent NSA little interview that he did, he said, "Hey, you know, when I left, I set up this whole experiment for them to go ahead and look into all this, and you know, maybe they got to it. I hope that they're getting to it." It's like I'd be mad. I mean, the guy makes such crazy claims, but it doesn't even seem like he follows up and makes sure that anything gets done. Like, how can you really listen to that or take that too seriously? You know?
No, it's a good point. It's a good point. I'm kind of with Ashton here in that, like, when the report came out, I was like, yo, that's business as usual. You know what I mean? It didn't affect me because I wasn't expecting much anyway. But I know a lot of people were waiting on it and expected something. But at the same time, some people expected good, some people expected bad, right? You had like Elizondo and other people kind of prefacing the release of it with a bunch of like, you know, kind of Kirkpatrick slander, right? Or maybe that's a harsh word, but they were definitely sharing their opinions of what this guy was going to do and why he was going to do it. So when it came out, it almost confirmed, you know what I mean, the suspicion. But you have Kirkpatrick. Not only is he kind of denying the existence or the progress of the research, perhaps, but he's also kind of, I don't know, he's kind of like spitting in the face, right, of ATIP and of Elizondo and like what he stood for and how important it was, along with this, what he would call a core group of believers, right? And that kind of pissed off, I think it was Chris Mellon wrote an article about that a while back, right? That, hey, I sent Kirkpatrick, Eric Davis, Elizondo, and I think Hal Puthoff was the third name, and they all told him, you know, a bunch of stuff, and he basically didn't reflect that in the report whatsoever. And I think that's untrue. I think he did reflect on the report. Unfortunately, he bundled up those guys with the core group of believers. But I don't know. What do you guys think? What's your guys' take on Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, Elizondo going to Kirkpatrick and then giving him any kind of like information?
Well, yeah, so that sets me up because what I was going to say and ask about is like, how many of these people are really good at lying, right? Like really good, you know? And what would it take for them to be willing to do that? Or are they just misguided, right? And that's the kind of the line I'm trying to straddle and figure out with some of these guys. Like my opinion is that Puthoff would prefer the information to come out, but doesn't potentially have a mechanism for it to come out. He's got an NDA. I think Eric Davis might be on the opposite side of it, where he doesn't want it to come out because he's not gone on any like podcast like at all. It barely talks about it. Dude has the memo to the was it Admiral Wilson or whatever, and doesn't even really like kind of address it. He's got all these papers out there talking about teleportation and all kinds of other crazy stuff, you know. So you know he knows. It's just like a matter of why is he not talking about it? And then like was Lou Elizondo the other one, or who was the third one?
I'm gonna say I think it was Lou.
Yeah,
I'll find the article, we'll double check.
Lou, like I think that Lou definitely he knows kind of what the implications of the stuff are, but he's probably somewhere in the middle where like he's got his NDAs and he doesn't want to hurt the country, right? Because I think he's a patriotic American,
okay,
and understands the national security implications, but he wants the good stuff potentially. But this is just my uninformed opinion out there. I think there's like warring factions, right?
And you wouldn't be the first person to say that for sure.
Yeah, the Kirkpatrick thing though, too, though, is like, if he's talking to those people, it makes me question his judgment, definitely, especially when he talks about, you know, there not being credible evidence and all these other witnesses that are coming forth regarding it. And just a lot of his claims don't really seem to have a lot of merit behind them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, I kind of put them in the same group. I mean, they're really longtime believers and they've obviously done some interesting work that's out there. I mean, Hal Puthoff's situation with TTSA and stuff like that's definitely questionable. So I don't know how far to go with them. they're definitely a part of this giant group that we've seen for a while. I include Bigelow right in there as well, with this whole group of where they really want to find out, I think, what's going on before they die, man. And I mean that, not in a bad way. I just mean it like that's what a lot of this giant push is. And I think Elizondo's been a part of that. But Elizondo, for me, I can't go in 100% with that guy. I mean, we've already seen a lot of untrustworthy behavior from him. I think Manny's Who's Lou documentary just did pull up some very interesting questions with Lou. And then the stuff with the sock puppet accounts and stuff like that. It's hard, man. It's hard once you've went to that area for me to really get your trust on everything like that. So I think there are some, my opinion, half truths in the AARO report. Where when you look at the OSAP ATIP and the work that's been done on that, there is some shady business going on there, guys. You have to point that out, to be fair. So we just have to see, later on down the road what ends up coming out with those guys. I mean, I know Lou's got the book, but yeah, Kirkpatrick he's part of the DOD. He's part of the Pentagon. If they wanted to tell us, they would have already told us. We knew what we were going to get with that.
Yeah, if I could add into I think that Kirkpatrick like poisons the well a little bit there, where he talks about the believers and them making up stories, right? Is like, if it was going to be an objective analysis, he shouldn't be bringing any of that kind of stuff up, right? Just give us the data and the conclusions from the data in a methodical approach, not like, oh, well, I think there's these believers out there that are whatever, and you're trying to kind of vilify those people. Like, to me now, it starts to feel a little bit like propaganda. There's another name too, Jack Sarfati, which I think should probably be mentioned with some of those other guys because he's an old school physicist, CIA guy, right? And if anyone's in place to know those guys, Eric Davis, Sarfati, Hal Puthoff, those guys are ones to know. Now, my take on To the Stars real quick, too, I just want to respond to that, is that I don't think they were malicious, like trying to rip people off. I just think they kind of had a little bit of Bob Lazar syndrome, I call it, where they're thinking, oh, this is going to come out, and we want to have like the first organization that's like taking advantage of it. Because one of their big things was like to get some of this technology out to the public, right? Or they were going to use that technology to produce things. Instead, they made movies, right? But that is a noble cause, if so. So I think it's kind of like they just didn't anticipate how hard it would be, right? And how much longer the time frame would be. Because if you imagine, like, let's say disclosure did happen in, I don't know when To the Stars was, like 2018 or something like that. But just like imagine disclosure, like the government comes out and says, yeah, there's been aliens. They've been either visiting us or they're in the oceans and we've found their craft. And they say that in like 2020. To the Stars would look like super geniuses, right? But instead, because none of that happened, now they just look like frauds, right? So I don't know. That's my opinion.
I mean, I agree with you, man. I think that it's very possible that the roots of TTSA and everything that Tom was doing was in the right, dude. And maybe they got led astray along the way. I mean, I think in 2020, when everybody grabbed toilet paper, Ashton, like it may have really ruined it, right? It really may have ruined
a lot of things, man.
They were going to go through. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's 2020 vision's, obviously the best to look back with, but yeah, we'll have to see how it goes moving forward.
Yeah. So my camera's still not working. I think I maybe have it charging now correctly.
Well, you sound great.
Do you have a charger for your battery charger?
You know what the tricky thing was with my camera? My camera died right before the stream too, so it's just kind of a curse. But it needed to be charged in a very specific thing. Like a regular like USB charger didn't work. I plugged in another one and it kind of started to go. And you'll know there's an indicator light on it. But like,
yeah, that's on now. So hopefully by the end of the stream, y'all can see my hat and shirt combo again.
Yes.
Thank goodness,
dude. So Eric Davis, Hal Puthoff, and Elizondo, I think they need a little bit of a lot of, maybe the audience isn't aware of who these guys are, right? So these are the guys that Chris Mellon sent in supposedly talk to Kirkpatrick, who's the government's UFO hunter. Eric Davis is a scientist. He's like I think an experimental physicist, astrophysicist. I've heard a long video of him talking to two other scientists about the existence of the ether. And he gave a really good argument for it. And I just had never heard that. It was about a 2-hour-long conversation. I found out from there, like, the guy kind of knows what he's talking about. Other than that, the only thing I really had of him in writing, I think, was that supposed Wilson Davis memo, right? And so the Wilson Davis memo is Eric Davis, the scientist, going and talking to Admiral Wilson, supposedly, right, about Admiral Wilson being locked out of this research that he was overseeing. A bunch of programs that supposedly had crash retrievals and all kinds of stuff of UFOs, and then he wasn't allowed to see it, but officially on paper he should have been able to see it. So it kind of revealed to Admiral Wilson that there, supposedly according to this memo, that there was a different system in place that prevented what he would consider the right people himself from seeing this stuff that's supposedly under his supervision. And so Eric Davis also wrote some papers on experimental physics from teleportation and all kinds of stuff. So he's more of the scientific arm. Then you have Elizondo, who is more military, more strategic. He's coming in also with some grassroots kind of community building you've seen, right? And then you have Putoff, which I think is the old wizard, kind of the old hat, who, you know, has a lot more connections, I think, with just kind of upper level stuff. And if you guys want a good read on Putoff, you should watch his Jesse Michaels interview with American Alchemy that he did with Eric Weinstein, Jesse Michaels, and again, how Putoff. And in there, he describes kind of with no nonsense the way in which the government has tucked this stuff away. Not only technology, but fundamental physics discoveries, as Weinstein put it. The suspicion is that since World War II, we've had fundamental physics discoveries kept from the public. And so, yeah, that's why I put off Eric Davis and Elizondo, I think, were sent in by Mellon, because they kind of feature three different facets of the same kind of machine.
Yeah, I mean, so Elizondo, right, was the one who was supposedly in charge of researching a lot of the videos. So if we believe the stuff that he said regarding ATIP or whatever it was really called or whatever, you know, he spent a number of years where he would have access to some of these anomalous videos. And then the other two are engineers, physicists, whatever you want to call them. They are the ones who are working for these third-party companies, these defense contractors, doing experiments where they are seeing the advanced technology in action, right? So, you know, people definitely need to be learning these people's names. Eric W. Davis, even Jack Sarfati, but Hal Putoff, right? Any other engineers that are directly tied to the Department of Defense. Those are the first names that I learned when I got into this community and learned who these like players are, because it's actually a much smaller circle than you would think, right? And you can actually know like all of them. And when you listen to them, if they are the ones who are saying, yeah, we've got 0 point energy, there's an ether, you know, maybe there's an extra dimension this can allow us to have superluminal speeds. Like, those are the people we should be listening to, in my opinion.
Dude, I would love to see Ashton talk with Eric Davis about the MH370 videos and then teleporting things, because I'm sure you've seen his Air Force study paper, Ashton, from like 2004 or something like that he kind of gets roasted about. Yeah, where he has the drawing of like the little dinosaur, like the stick figure dinosaur behind the portal.
I mean, I honestly wonder if this guy has walked through a portal before, like a Stargate. I actually literally have wondered that.
He was like the guy who would know about portals, right? Like, and
dude, he wrote a paper about all the different kinds of teleportation. I'm like, VM teleportation. Like, that's the one.
Pretty interesting, dude. Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Like, why would you even come up with all this unless like you've seen something that makes you believe that like there's something there, right?
Well, and that even ties into, right, not to turn this into a whole MH370 thing, but what Sean Cahill said about those videos when I asked him. And he basically said whoever had, if they're fake, they had knowledge of the DIRDs, right? And this refers to those like ATIP theoretical papers that they kind of contracted out. And yeah, a lot of the Eric Davis papers on that. I mean, I think the one we were just talking about was probably listed in there. And some other ones.
A lot of people that have like come to me and been like, yeah, no, that looks like what we would expect there to be, like a counter space or a neg entropy reaction to some type of event, right? And before all this happened, I didn't even know what any of that stuff meant, right? I thought it was all just pseudoscience. And now I'm like,
I still don't, Ashton. I still don't.
No, that's fair. And I think that,
yeah.
And here's the crazy part is like, the reason why I'm confident about it doesn't even bother me is like, I'm like 99.9% sure that is actually real. And like, it's just a matter of time. Like, I think those people we're talking about, those names we're listing, like, I think they know for sure that it's real. Right. And then you think about it, it's like, that's so huge and crazy that can explain the thing too. But and I were talking about earlier about like, what would be so dark is if we were to find out that our universe is like a hologram, you know, like, and it's just our perception that makes us think that stuff is super far away. Like, that would be huge, of course. And then the bigger question is like, how do you even get that out? You know, like, then you start to realize like what really is disclosure and why is it so difficult and why, and like, what is the real timeline and when we're going to get that from the government? In my opinion, it's like 100 years out where like all of us are going to die and they're still not going to admit that kind of stuff. Cause it's just it's that big, but I don't know.
100 years out. Chat, what do you guys think about that?
That's optimistic, man. They're never going to tell us.
It's up to us, dude. Like, if we keep waiting for these guys to tell us this stuff, I mean, it's crazy. They're flying them around us, so we should be able to kind of grab something, right?
Yeah, but what are we gonna do, Sam? We're gonna kick in the door at Boeing. We're gonna kick in the door at Lockheed. You know what I mean? We need one of these.
That's a good point.
These whistleblowers to come on out, man. We're kind of at their mercy because we're just really not in these programs. I think the programs are there without a doubt. I don't know how you could disagree with that unless you can show me that we really figured the stuff out in the 50s on our own without any help. Okay, well then I'll take that from you. But until then, dude, we got to get a whistleblower. You know,
whistleblower is great. I mean, that official disclosure that like, hey, this is a real thing. Let's follow the thread. That's good for everyone, right? That's good for everyone. Not everybody's a ufologist or whatever. Not everybody's been looking into this stuff. Very few people know who Gary Nolan is. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, a lot of very important people know who he is, but when he talks about the phenomenon, I think the way he does gives me a lot of encouragement that this isn't necessarily going to come from these things that we think they're going to come from. And I'm not talking about where the beings come from. I mean, like these official channels, because, you know, according to Gary Nolan's, like his view and a lot of other people's view too, from Jacques Vallée and whatnot, that these things are interacting with people. They're not showing up to interact with our governments. So like whatever's happening with these interactions with people, it's either being misinterpreted, misidentified, or hidden. You know what I mean? And you look at these experiencers and all this other stuff, like they have with them a ton of information. You know, whether or not that information is going to be the thing that like brings disclosure outward, I don't know. I think it'll probably be a video, to be honest. It'll probably be a body or something. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But we have to be able to look at these little breadcrumbs first and explore new ideas, because in the end, us thinking that the UFOs landing or the videos are going to be the thing that does it, that idea was planted in our heads. That's a planted idea, right? Like, why don't they land on the White House lawn? That's a planted idea. Like, there's got to be more options out there that we haven't yet considered that will get us there faster than 100 years. That's what I think. I hope anyway.
Yeah, real quick, I would say that they definitely are going to make more mistakes, right? Like the thing about government too is it's made up of people, and people are fallible and they make mistakes, right?
True.
And so stuff will leak out eventually. And that's where I think it's like we have to be ready for it. And think about like even the Jack was a Texiera guy who leaked like the Ukraine information on Discord, right? Like, man, if there was like just some young kid who was like 20 years old and he had access to all this information, like there's people out there that have a lot. And then to your point, like that's how I think it will come out as a video. But what we really need is someone similar to like what I did with MH370 videos, but they need to be the person who like recorded it, right? Or the person that like was there and watched it firsthand. And that's what people will then begin to take seriously, because then not only do you have the hard evidence, right, but you also have the testimony of the person, the providence of it as well. And when we get that, I think that person will be instantly elevated to like the David Grush level, where people will like look up to them as a potential hero. And that, I think that's how we'll get it ultimately.
Yeah, I'll add one more thing though. Whoever's going to come out and do that, you're going to have to hurry up though. The AI videos are getting crazy. It's going to make it almost impossible to verify any of that, dude. So sooner the better, huh?
Yeah, it could be old stuff too, but yeah.
And let's move into this actually real quick. I was curious, Terrestrial Material, your thoughts on this Kona Blue thing. And let's go ahead and I'm going to share my screen a little bit here. I'm just going to do entire screen. I'm just going to go YOLO mode.
YOLO.
System audio, sure.
Are we bringing that back, YOLO?
I mean, did it go anywhere?
Yeah. So so this Kona Blue thing kind of ties into this greater like ATIP OSAP debate. So first off, we covered this on Skyfire News. Shouts out Cambion with the screenshot. One of the big things that the AARO report did was say that ATIP wasn't a real program. It was just kind of like a club within the DoD of like-minded believers, right? And then we saw some big replies from Elizondo, right? Like right afterwards, he after this came out, Elizondo was like, "We, parentheses, many of us, already provided classified evidence to AARO. Lying about it doesn't help. Lying about it doesn't help his case. But like everything else, the truth is always revealed. Sadly, I really did try and give him a break in the beginning. No matter, ... His comments won't age well, nor will his narrative." And then this little exchange happened a few days ago. Somebody under Lou's post was like, "Hi, Lou. Just wondering how you feel about the claims of Stephen Greenstreet that you were never the director of a classified UAP program, ? And Lou responded with this quote, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. Theodore Roosevelt. So I guess before we get into that clip, I know Ashton had some thoughts about that. What do you guys think about this whole Lou's kind of been coming out hot lately again on Twitter, right?
Why is this called Kona Blue? Real quick, I don't get it.
Well, we're about to get into Kona Blue
okay.
because in the AARO report, he goes through the timeline of all the different UFO things, right? Blue Book, Project Sign, blah, 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 all the way back in the day. Then he starts up again with the OSAP and then the ATIP thing, which is what we first covered, where he's like, there's no whatchamacallit. But what was really interesting in there, and I found interesting, and a lot of other like UFO nerds who are really deep into this history thing, was this mention of Kona Blue. And I guess, yeah, let's just get into the clip first. What happens if I go like that? Okay, cool.
Perfect.
By the way, I might start dressing like Sean Kirkpatrick. I like it.
You need a couple tie chains.
Only white button downs with a jacket.
Yeah. So this clip is a little long. I think we're gonna play a little bit of the intro, and then I'll skip ahead. But basically, what the point of it all is, he says that Kona Blue is basically, it was like in the same way that ATIP wasn't a program. Apparently, Kona Blue was the after ATIP, quote unquote, not program. Where he says it's a lot of the same believers, and this is a theme you see in the report and in a lot of his op-eds and whatnot. There's just basically like a UFO fanaticism religion run amok within the DoD. But here's him talking about Kona Blue a little bit. I just found it really interesting because let's just watch.
Historical report. There's reference to a prospective special access program, or PSAP, called Kona Blue. Can you talk about how that figures in the historical assessment and the broader set of issues in this case?
So it's well known and well documented out in the world of the story of how Senator Harry Reid, wanted to set up a special access program with the Department of Defense to protect alleged information that the then ATIP OSAP program was supposedly uncovering, and to provide a compartment under which the alleged spacecraft could be returned to government oversight. So the big concern here from Reid and from Congress was, if this program existed, there was no congressional oversight. So he sent a letter to the Secretary of Defense and said, hey, we want to set up this special access program. Secretary of Defense said no, and then had a review of the program with DIA and Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, and said, yeah, not only are we not going to do that, but we're going to stand this program down, because this has nothing to do with aliens and extraterrestrials. This was supposed to be something else. Senator Reid did not necessarily stop at that point. In fact, did not like that answer, and so reached out to his colleague, Senator Lieberman, who had a connection in the Department of Homeland Security, to try to get the Department of Homeland Security to stand up this program. And a prospective special access program is a proposal. It's a proposal package that is put together by a group of people to stand up a special access program. That package then has to go through coordination, and it goes through general counsel, and it goes up through the SAPCO director, the special access program office director, and to get approval. And Kona Blue was that program. They had convinced, Reid and Lieberman had convinced the DHS to put together that program, that proposal. That proposal was written by some of the same group of people that came out of the previous program after it was shut down. And so that entire package we found in the DHS archives, researched it a year ago, and then worked over the last year prior to my retirement to get it declassified and to get it out. I actually sent a congressional notification to the Hill last summer when we found it, and then had briefed it to them, to the Hill several times since then. It is now out in the report, and that package is in its final review for public release. It has been declassified and is almost ready to go. So that is where that program came from, and it contributes to this story. Why? Because we had several interviewees come in who named Kona Blue as the program that is housing the reverse engineering and the non-human intelligence bodies of these craft. And that is absolutely not the case. In fact, the program that was proposed to set up 6 centers, research centers. One was consciousness, one was technology, one was propulsion. I don't remember what the other two or three were. And they were all going to be run by the existing contractor. So I think that will be in the program plan when that comes out, and everybody will have that.
Wow. So there we go. And I found that interesting for a few reasons. He said multiple whistleblowers came to him telling him that Kona Blue, quote unquote, is where the crash retrieval stuff is. So, I mean, whether you think Kirkpatrick's lying or telling the truth, it is an interesting data point that multiple of these people that are quote unquote in the mix, for whatever reason, are convinced that that's where it is. And like I said, this is a name that really hadn't come up before, really anywhere. Hoping John Greenwald FOIA stuff. But yeah, what are you guys thinking? I see you ready to go, Terrestrial. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, where do we begin with this, really, to be honest? We got a hint from James Lukatsky, I think it probably a year, maybe 2 years ago, where he started kind of breaking down this entire process where OSAP with ATIP and how they lost their funding, how they tried to get funding in again and failed again. Now, we never knew what the program name they tried to create with that funding was. Now I think we know, Kona Blue. And that was kind of the whole idea behind the Bigelow money. He was supposed to be putting it together this big hangar. And we found out now with that they was trying to essentially take UFO craft material and move that around. Now, Kirkpatrick's saying there's 6 different setups they were trying to do for it. We didn't know that. That's new. If that's true, it's pretty interesting. But what they were trying to do with Kona Blue, I mean, if that was something that would have went through, I mean, if they could have actually just in theory got all that material together and then put it in the hands of Congress to deal it out or deal with it and dispense the information to the public, that doesn't sound like a very bad idea to me if that could have went through. But you also pick up on the
consciousness things, right? That was kind of interesting. That and like I said, per Kirkpatrick, this was all BS, never happened. But it sounds like multiple people went up to him and were like, they only have crash retrieval stuff. Not only do they have that, they also are working with this consciousness angle, which I mean, kind of sounds on brand with a lot of these people, because he kind of did say it was like all the same people from the last one, right? Which would be like Lou, probably Lukatsky, some of these people. So
what's the Skinwalker Ranch tie-in too with that? I think too with Bigelow, right?
Yeah, because I mean, and for the audience, right? That's kind of like love it or hate it. That's kind of what started a lot of this stuff, right? It was James Lukatsky going to the ranch. Well, it starts with him reading that book by George Knapp, right, in Iraq or something like that. That's how the story goes. And basically went to investigate it. Apparently had some kind of paranormal spooky event there with tubular bells and all this stuff. And then that's what like gave him the motivation, I guess, to really start getting that OSAP program running per the official story. And I think that actually is what they say too in the AARO report, which I did pull up over here. I just figured maybe you'll have it in the background. But yeah, what Ashton or Tuba?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this Kona Blue? The fact that multiple people who felt it like to worth their time to go to AARO, right? That they think it's there. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, so my first thought going back to the Lou Elizondo post where he was getting questioned about it, right? Because the big dilemma is, was he really a lead of this program, and then what did they really do and what have you? you know, usually I like to, I'm just going to assume he's not lying, right? And he's telling the truth, at least as he knows it. I think that in most cases, that's what people do. And then the real truth is somewhere in the middle of what these warring kind of perceptions are. That he sees himself as somebody who is taking a risk, right? That is putting his neck out there and his reputation out there. And I think that aligns pretty closely with what we've been seeing. But that he's not sure that it's going to end up happening, right? That he understands that there's forces at play where he can't get the information out and people that are potentially trying to hide it as well. And that's when I saw that. I think it was Theodore Roosevelt quote there. That's kind of at least what I thought when I looked at that. It seemed a little bit dramatic because if he does have inside information, at any point he could just leak it, right? And risk going to prison over it and really escalate things to the next level, especially when he's talking about all the stuff he's talked about, like the 23-minute video, and then he won't answer any like details about it. You know, like he could just say some of that stuff, right? And that escalates it to the next level. But I think he's worried about what will happen to him. You know, he does going to prison isn't a joke at all. So I also, the last thing I want to say too is that I respect Harry Reid. I think that Harry Reid, I always thought was a genuine guy who was sure that there's something going on related to UFOs. And, you know, so I would trust his judgment in terms of whatever he said. You know, he's now passed away, but I feel bad that we weren't able to get disclosure in his timeline, in his life.
Yeah, totally. He's one of those people for sure. And you're kind of new around the block, Ashton, but and kind of you came in when like Lou was kind of on the back burner, but Lou loves his theatrics. He's always been like that, huh, Terrestrial? He's always been like quoting stuff at like really weird times. And
I was gonna say, no matter what you think about Lou, he's got style. You got to give him that.
Yeah,
No doubt. No doubt.
It's like a yes or no question. You know what? Good. Here's a Teddy Roosevelt quote.
Right. He thinks about it. You know, he takes his time, no doubt about it.
Dude, he does. He like lays the playing field pretty well. And like he'll set up punchlines too. You can see him kind of working it. Dude, I think that the Kona Blue thing is interesting. I mean, if Kirkpatrick didn't find anything, it's suspicious that so many people would go there and give him that code name and then like lead him down this like path. Either they were mistaken, you know, or when Kirkpatrick looked, he wasn't told anything. How much of this stuff do you think is Kirkpatrick being stonewalled and not allowed to say that versus him actually not finding anything?
That's a great question. I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd say it really depends on what his mindset is, right? If he's got the mindset of a debunker, then I think he could be easily misled into saying statements that aren't fully truthful, but that he believes are true. But if he's got the mindset that he's been in some of these, you know, labs and what have you, and he's seen the stuff, then he knows we've got stuff that's out there, then I think he's being intentionally deceptive. And then in that scenario, you know, he's being very careful about his wording and casting doubt on what he can cast doubt on, and then not addressing anything that he can't. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, man. But a lot of it for me is how much could he really tell us? You know, I've kind of always used this analogy to where, you know, during the Manhattan Project, if Congress would have said, hey, you know, they're working on some weapon that we don't know anything about, we got to get some oversight. If they would have sent him over there to Los Alamos and came back, could he have really told us what was going on? No, he wouldn't have had a choice, man. So that's what makes this whole report such a real pain, dude, is you don't really know exactly how much he has to come out and say this. And down the road, you know, maybe we'll learn more. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, a lot of people want to hate him, and I don't know, dude. I don't. There's definitely some people it's like, screw this guy, but I don't get that with him. I would like to think he's not intentionally lying, or if he was, there's maybe for good reason. It is kind of sketch, though, that he's going to Battelle after this. It's probably one of the most sketch places he could go. He has been involved.
How many people have brought that up, Rod? I mean, a lot of people have just like kind of rolled over that whole entire situation with him going to Oak Ridge. It's the weirdest thing ever. How, even if you're like the most ultra skeptic person in the world, how can you not say that's weird and call that out? Weird.
It's like Lockheed Martin Skunk Works or something. He's like, where he's going next. You know what I mean?
Yeah, these guys know, man. I mean, let's just be honest. Like these guys know what's going on there. You know, it's all a job. I'm sure that they have righteous motivations and justifications for the things that they're doing, but they're being deceptive in terms of the information they're putting out there to the public, right? And it's really, really easy to just throw a little bit of deception out there and have people just believing all kinds of different things, because then people just run with it, and then you see the warring factions of, nope, it can't be true, yes, it has to be, and then nothing ends up getting done, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna go check my camera real quick. Let's see if y'all want to riff for a bit, and then yeah.
Dude, look at this. So thank you, Red, for showing this and also for enlarging it so we can all read it. So this was from the report, right? The AARO report. I'll just read a couple. Kona Blue was brought to AARO's attention by interviewees who claimed that it was a sensitive DHS compartment to cover up the retrieval and exploitation of non-human biologics. Now, that's a word I want to get in with you guys. Non-human biologics. Like, could there be a more convoluted term? You know what I mean? Are they confusing us on purpose with phrases like non-human biologics? Like, UFOs and aliens have been in the lexicon and in our culture for 50, 60 years at the very least, if not like maybe 500 years. But I mean, now we have to refer to these things with new terminology. What's the point of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're talking about camels and dogs and stuff here, which some people try to claim that they are, right? Like, non-humans. Oh, it could be anything, guys. It could be fish. It's like, nah, man. They're obviously, like, you can see the context here. You know, the idea is that there's some other beings, either crypto-terrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, or extraterrestrial, that, you know, we've found that they must be real because we've either seen some, you know, structure on Mars or something, or we've seen a craft here, or we dug something up, and you know, that's what they're getting at here, right? I think the big question is, to me at this point, just what's the nature of it, you know? And I'm pretty open-minded to really anything, even the whole future human hypothesis. I've kind of come back a little bit on, thinking maybe that's even possible, right?
Do you think that like future humans would be considered quote unquote non-human? Like, are they just stretching like a definition here? What do you think, Terrestrial?
Could be. Okay, Terrestrial.
Maybe, man, maybe, right? It depends on how much that we end up interacting with AI or even coming together with AI in the future. What percentage of humanity still needs to be there to be considered actually human anymore? Right?
Yes.
That's really, really weird. The other thing that I think is interesting is how this whole report and the DoD is just hammering extraterrestrial. They're not even dealing with the NHI term here, which is very, very weird, because if you take the extraterrestrial out of this thing, you change that word, this is a completely different report. It's not even the same thing at all. And these word games are just something that I feel like they're playing with, and they're going to continue to play with down the road. But I hope at some point we can kind of come together on one phrasing. I'm with you, and just kind of move on forward with that. Yeah.
It reminds me, or I'm getting like these vibes. They call it the ship of Theseus. Have you ever heard of this? Where essentially it's this old kind of, I don't know if it's a riddle or what, but it's this kind of thought experiment where if they docked the ship at the bay, it was Theseus's ship, and then they slowly replaced every single aspect of the ship. Right? They replaced every board and everything.
Wow.
Once that happens, is it still Theseus's ship? Is it still the same ship, or is it a brand new thing? And I wonder, you know, like when they talk about non-human biologics, the most startling thing to discover would be that it was on the surface human. You know what I mean? This is a human. Like, what are you talking about, non-human? And then the idea like they come from a different time or a different dimension or something, so it's technically non-human. You know what I mean? Like, if they discover different human-like races, then they could technically call them that, and you know, maybe they'd blend in with us. You would never know. But yeah, I think they're stretching definitions out there. I think they're playing language as a weapon.
Yeah, I think what Crypto said there as well, which was the idea of what about post-human civilization, right? Where like we have integrated with AI and machine. Yeah. So even that's to me like that. I thought that would be 1,000 years off, and now I'm seeing people with the goggles walking around and eating at lunch and talking about brain chips, and I'm going, that actually just seems inevitable at this point.
It's not even 1,000
100%.
days off right now.
Yeah,
100%, Ashton. I can tell you, there's no way it's coming. Everyone who's against Neuralink and all these things, how many people held out for the smartphone and said, I'm never going to get on this thing? As soon as we can get to the ease of use and we can get to Ready Player One, dude, who is not signing up for that? Let's just go ahead and accept it for what it is. You know, it's coming.
Yeah, so I could see that being a future human hypothesis where, like, yeah, if we can travel faster than light, I think it brings a lot of questions into play about the nature of our reality and whether or not we can time travel, and another topic called retrocausality, which is like, can you change the past, or is it going to be like a Tenet situation, or like Dark, the TV show on Netflix, where it's like whatever happened always happened, right? And you can go back in time, but you can't change anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And Project Unity said about that show that one of the people, his sources he trusts most, said that this show is the closest thing to the phenomena.
No way.
And it has no UFOs in it. Yeah.
It's all time loops and
yeah.
That's so interesting.
It's still on my watch list. I haven't watched it yet, but that's what he said. It's one of those things. Like another one that's like that is Chris Bledsoe said that the way he understands what's going on is the movie The Adjustment Bureau. That's how he understands like what reality is.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, look, like when you really think about time travel, when you really think about this technological advance that we could do, the conclusion I came to is that we might be in something like the lobby or the coat room of a bigger like event space, right? And so we are stuck in this like low tier dimension where it's physical, and the other aspect of it could literally be a technological advance away, or a realization, some type of evolution of the way we think. And then we realize like, oh, we're in a much bigger space. Like we can leave the coat room, which would be this 3D world, and then like step into this other thing that's like either an amusement park, a club, a mall, whatever. But there's all these different options there, and I think when we step into that room, like let's say we discovered time traveling in Thomas Townsend Brown's time. Let's just go with that idea, right? That after World War II, there was some developments in electrogravitics, and they discovered that another place, right? And when they do that, I mean, if you really contemplate time, we're trapped in this weird sense of it, where if we were to escape it, we might find ourselves in another room with a bunch of other people that had at the very same moment entered that space, regardless of where they were from, when they were from, how they got there. They're exiting a complete universe and stepping into something else, and that might all happen instantaneously. We might find out when we're in one of these like a train station full of these other humans from different times, other earthbound biologics from different times that have evolved. We got Gary Nolan. He says one of his favorite science fiction novels, the kind he likes to read, are when they take like a bee or an animal and they take it to its evolutionary result, like when it becomes conscious, right? And what would those society be like? What would a society of bees that became sentient become? What would they look like? And when I thought about that, I started to look through all the different species of aliens that have been described by experiencers, and I really started to realize like a lot of these have earthbound animal-like traits to them. They're standing, they're physical, number one. They interact with people, they're obsessed with people, they're obsessed with the earth, they're here for some reason, and they all seem to take on a type of animalistic or earthbound structure, right? Whether it be a mantid or a reptilian or a Nordic or a gray, these are physical beings that look just like us, that seem like they have DNA and they're interested in ours. And the possibility that they're all from different times within this place was then again kind of echoed by Tom DeLonge, who talked about the idea that if you're in a submarine or a vehicle and you can change the voltage or frequency of that vehicle itself, then you'd be in the same place, but you'd be moving with your frequency change through different time periods or different moments. So the idea of time travel is kind of in the mix. And that's how he explained to Steve O when he asked, what's the significance of UFOs? That was Tom DeLonge's answer, was that any civilization at the peak of its technological advancement could do this. And he said, like any species, I think is what he said, any species. So, you got to think if deep time, how many animals on Earth have or will evolve into being sentient and having technology and eventually having this beautiful couple thousand-year run where they're undisturbed for the most part, and they can continue to progress and then develop this type of tech. And then if that like lobby analogy or coat room analogy works, then they invent it, let's say 1 billion years from now or 1 million years ago, and they walk into this room or they go into the space and they're just met with every human, every other animal that also entered that time, that space, because it's different. It's almost like Interstellar's Tesseract or something, right?
Well, let me ask you this, is a little bit tangential to that, but it seems interesting to me that bipedalism, walking on two legs, seems like such a rare trait right? Like it's only us. I mean, I guess you could argue kangaroos, but even they actually like will use their hands and go down on them as well at times. So it does make me wonder if like that might be an indicator of when something has become sentient, right? And maybe as these animals evolve and that happens. If you look at even all the alien species that people claim are out there, they are all bipedal as far as I know. I don't think I've heard of a single one that walks on four, right?
Yeah.
And I think that seems like very like a basic thing. But if you are looking at evolution and you're looking at what other species might look like, these are kind of bigger questions I think people should be considering. And also stuff like, if you were to imagine a planet out there that is a life-bearing planet, I think we would immediately assume it's going to be Earth-like, a rocky planet. But what if ocean worlds are the predominant types of worlds that are out there, right? And what if worlds that don't even have an exosphere, right? Like we are looking up at outer space all the time. But what if ones where like you're covered in ice, your entire planet, there's an ocean underneath it? What if that's the more common, planetary being? Like, how would you even communicate with people? How would they even get into outer space? Would they even know what outer space is? They never see it, right? Just other thoughts for you guys. Go ahead.
I was going to say real quick, what you just described there was actually the original. That was a planet that was featured in the original script to the movie Interstellar. So Interstellar was originally written by Christopher Nolan's brother. His name leaves me at the moment, but he's another Nolan, right? So Christopher Nolan, the director, his brother, Jonathan Nolan, I think is who it did. He wrote the film for Steven Spielberg. It's a beautiful script. It's one of the best I've ever read.
Wonder how that would have been different. That movie, if Spielberg would have done it.
It's the most adventurous, like space. Like a lot of the elements are still there. It just where they depart is that Jonathan Nolan's script was very much into space and excitement and running into aliens and all this stuff. And Nolan, Christopher, removed that and inserted this consciousness mystery, this love, this consciousness transcends time and space mystery that was not in the original script, and it became like the backbone of what was going on. Now, a lot of the beats still happen the same, but the reason they happen are very different. And one of the planets they go to is an ice planet where they go to fly through a cloud and they hit it. It's an ice cloud, and then they go down further, and then they land on ice. And no one's going to read the script, so I'm going to spoil this. So they land on ice, just like they did like Miller's Planet or whatever, right? They did to Matt Damon. Yeah. But then what they discover is the ice is another layer, and they like break through it, and then they fall down. And as they're falling, they fall through thick layer, like, I don't know how a mile deep of ice. They fall through, and then they land in an ocean. But as they fall through, the ice begins to glow. They're around bioluminescent beings. So then they hit the water, they look up, it looks like the starry night, and it's just these bioluminescent creatures in the ice. And then life starts to happen around them. It's an exciting script. If you guys ever find it online, the original Interstellar script is different enough to enjoy if you want to read it.
I think I would like that better.
It's an interesting thought that you bring that up, though, real quick before I know you guys are probably going to move on from this, but all the other worlds having mostly water, most water worlds. That's interesting you say that, Ashton, because there was an ex-NASA physicist that was talking about how, when you look at our water just in general is very stable in temperature, and it'd be very easy for a species to come from somewhere else, especially if they lived in water. Where would they go to a stable environment to stay safe? In the water, where we're hearing about a lot of this stuff. In the water. So it's very interesting you bring that up. It's definitely a possibility for sure.
Yeah, it's a high boiling point for water as well. Yep. It's pretty, like when you say stable, it's like a wide range of temperatures, right? And it's thermoregulating itself. So, it's, that's definitely what I think about too, where I'm like, okay, if they did come from another planet, it makes sense they would go hide in the water. They might even, and you think about atmosphere, right? Like our atmosphere of gas is a very specific combination of like oxygen and nitrogen and other elements as well. It's like, why would they be able to breathe that? Probably not. But what if they came from a water world? The water would be the same type of potential atmosphere that they might need, right?
Very similar. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, and that might be, I feel like we're almost about to close out for tonight. But y'all talking about water. We have this water clip ready to go. We'll watch this.
That was on purpose.
Right into it. Yeah, we set that up.
And then I think we'll do some what do we hope to see in response to the arrow, and then we'll maybe close out for the night.
Who is this guy though, by the way? The guy with the cowboy hat on here?
Oh, that's a rapper, a Texas rapper named that OT Mexican.
I like when Joe Rogan talks to these rappers and people like that, and even like Cat Williams, and then they start talking about like aliens and stuff like that. You're like, damn, okay, this is like, it's out there. People are,
people are hella woke, bro. Like people are like, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your ice cream man, like Loki knows about interdimensional beings. Like,
and they have a theory about it too.
yeah.
The alien picking up the cow right there.
You do.
Yeah. What do you think about aliens? What do you think is going on with all that? I think they're in the water. I think space is a distraction. I think NASA maybe used to be in the water and they seen something that scared the living shit out of them and they never wanted to go back. I even have the alien.
There you go.
He gets it.
That's great. That's terrific.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, he's well spoken for it. You know, he just drops it right away. Like it's just something he's known his whole life, right? Yeah, I think they're in the water. Like NASA's seen something, freaked him out, right?
Yeah.
It brings up a lot of UFO points. Like, why have we not gone back to the moon? Like, you know, we
All
don't really
the
have that
hottest
many
UFO
space
videos,
things.
yours included, Ashton, are over the water, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they definitely are. I think the huge percentage of the incidents, that's something I noticed even going back 2017, where like a lot of the stuff seems to happen over water. Not all of it, but a huge percentage of it, right? There seems to be some relation there. And you look at the oceans, like, you know, even to the, that's funny, I keep bringing up the MH370 stuff, but that was one of the first times we started scanning the bottom of the ocean, right? With these underwater drones that they have. And we only mapped a very small percentage of it, right? Like there could easily be stuff hiding at the bottom.
That you know of. That you know of.
Yeah, I know of. Yeah. I'm sure they've mapped more, but they, you know, they are blurring it out now on Google, right? Like, so
yeah,
it's pretty
shouts out
weird.
Kelly Chase, friend of the show. She commented that, right?
Yeah. What
That
is she?
was going
UFO
viral too,
rabbit
right?
hole, the UFO rabbit hole podcast.
Yeah,
Check that
UFO
out.
Rabbit Hole.
Yeah,
Go
give
check
that
it
a-
out.
give that a
I was
look.
cited in her first book, but yeah, that went hella viral. Apparently, I don't know, dude. I feel like Google Earth is a little sus. You think, Ashton, they're right with everything you looked into? Like they have like a live Google Earth of like basically everything at all times.
Yeah, I mean, the question is
Today, right?
you know, are they able to look into the oceans? I'm not sure, but yeah, I think we've got full video playback. Like a
You think they could see a
playback
license
if they
plate from
want.
space?
Oh yeah. I mean, can they read the license plate? I don't know. Can they see it? Yeah. I mean, I've seen commercial, like them showing off the satellite capabilities where you can see people working out in the street, right? Like
Oh, wow.
just walking around. It's like, okay, yeah, we've got like crazy advanced. Now, the bigger question is like the difference between the geostationary, the mid-Earth orbit, and the low Earth orbit satellites, right? The low Earth orbit ones are, yeah, those are like probably like reading a quarter on the ground, right? But that's not even what's necessarily important when you think about UFOlogy. Like, I really think there's a connection to why they film in IR and infrared, right? Because that seemed so odd to me when I first saw the drone videos. I'm like, they're filming everything in infrared in the military? Like, huh, that's weird. But the answer is like they can kind of change the spectrum with the settings on the cameras. But looking in infrared is how you're going to see some weird gravitational anomalous events or electromagnetic events, right? And that's where I started thinking, like, if they have been filming like that in the default, then they must be expecting to see weird, like looking for weird stuff, right? Because that's not how I would expect to look for like Chinese planes and stuff like that. I'd want to look in like optical spectrum. I don't know.
Well, like how old was that Cyber system that you figured out there, Ashton? When did that come out?
Yeah, it went up in 2006. So the satellite designation in the video is NROL 22, which is the first launch, which was the HEO-1, which was like I think their first geostationary satellite that went up.
So we're looking
And
at
that was
already like
20 years ago. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
dude. How wild is that?
And some people like they haven't said who they are, but whatever, go, that's old technology, right? When we were looking at that, like they might even have crazy stuff now, right?
Man,
I want to show you guys a video from 2013, 2012. And this blew me away. I'm going to skim through it. So
I've heard about this Argus thing. Yeah.
The Argus thing is legit. And when you see what it can do and what it could have done back in the day and how they accomplished it and what it's doing, it validates everything you just said, in my opinion.
A Predator team mistook a convoy of Afghan civilians, including women and children, for militants. The pilot asks, "Is that a rifle?" The answer is, "Can't really tell." More in greater detail than ever before.
I remember this.
Today, we've developed sensors that can watch with an all-seeing eye and see an area about the size of a small city, all at one time.
This is the next generation of surveillance. For the first time, we actually have permission from the government to show the basic capabilities. It is important for the public to know that some of these capabilities exist.
Engineer Yanis Antoniadis designed the new sensor, known as Argus. With 1.8 billion pixels, It's the world's highest resolution camera. Argus fits inside this pod that attaches to the belly of a UAV. But because much of the work is classified, we can't see the sensor itself.
Sick tarps.
Because we are not allowed to expose some of the pieces that make up this.
This image was taken 17,500 feet above Quantico, Virginia, and covers 15 square miles.
This whole image is at a very, very fine resolution. So if we wanted to know what is going on in any spot along this image, say near this building at this intersection, we can generate a moving image that shows what's going on in the area.
Simply by touching the screen, Antoniades has opened up a window showing a detailed area, while still maintaining the broader context.
And everything that is a moving object is being automatically tracked. The color boxes represent that the computer has recognized the moving objects. You can see individuals crossing the street. You can see individuals walking in parking lots. There's actually enough resolution to be able to see the people waving their arms or walking.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. This is the guy working out right there. Look at that. You can see him working
And
out in the
you
shadow.
can pick the location of where you produce these images anywhere in the entire field of view.
Antoniades can open up to 60.
How can you still not think? How can people not think that we've got crazy satellite video recording? Look at what this guy's showing us right now. He's like, yeah, we've just got a picture and you can just pick where you want. And then you press on the screen and it shows you a video playback.
Yeah,
Like
it's recording the whole, it's like what you said, it's real-time playback for the whole grid. And this is one drone flying over one city.
There's probably satellite of gimbal and
And you notice the view he's got,
point.
it's mostly
Yeah.
water. It's mostly water. Isn't that interesting? Why they
this
watch
actually, when I remember I watched this the first time, it actually made me wonder if we weren't necessarily looking through a satellite, but we were looking at some kind of like high Earth orbit, like or high like plane, like spy plane that's flying at super high altitude. But I think the person that leaked it would have known, right? They would have known that it's a satellite video, and that's why. And then it says NRL 22 in it, which is the other dead giveaway. But yeah, when you look at this, you're like, okay, guys, like. And this is the thing about the investigation that I've done is that you look into some of that stuff and then you realize like it's 2024 now and it was 2014 back then. You know,
And
of
that's when
course we had video, right? Like what do we still think we're looking at like single pictures? Come on, why would we need that? Why would that? That's so rudimentary.
This is fascinating. Look at how he did it.
We find a tiny little camera. So if you were to take off the majority of it,
That's how
you'd be
small it
left
is?
with an imaging chip.
That's one.
If you were to take
One of them.
368 of this and make a big mosaic out of them and start shooting images, now you have Argus.
Oh, okay.
So it's 300 of those? Come on.
300,
Okay.
yeah, 368, I think is what he said, right? So 368 cell phone cameras that existed 10, I think honestly, this is about 15 years ago, right? So all that time ago, and they had drones up in the sky over, and I'm going to make a big leap here, over every major city.
What
They
year was
probably
this?
have this video has uploaded 11 years ago. But
11 years
I don't
ago.
remember the actual broadcast. of the
2012
show.
or 2013.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like when I bring this up to people, they never really know what I'm talking about. So I'm really glad I love YouTube for this and like this idea of video streaming, because I could talk about this all day in a spaces, but no one could see it. But now that you see, literally, this was so long ago. They've only made bigger leaps, bigger steps. And you know, this is what scares me the most about this type of surveillance, is that it's up there, probably circling every city. They got one of these up there. And when that one needs to come down to recharge, they have another one up there already. They probably have lost no time over any city for a while. And to the degree in which you can see and zoom in, you can stop crime very easily. You could, you know, find a missing person very easily. And this data is not used for that.
Well, remember they were talking about doing this, like I think it was the Kenosha riots, right? They had the drones flying over doing this, actually, right? And that's the thing. Like, I don't know if they have enough drones to fly over every major city in the United States, but they can operationalize them, absolutely. And the next step would be you don't need drones anymore. You just do it with satellites, right? And if you have enough low Earth orbit satellites, I mean, those things are most likely powerful enough to do that all the time, right? Maybe even over a bigger field of view.
I mean, you into the server space, you would need to be exabytes, dude, fields and fields of exabytes to be able to try to hold all that. I mean, it's incredible. I wonder where that stuff is. I mean, if you wanted to argue underground bases or something, could be a lot of underground servers, man, that are holding all that
Probably in
footage. It'd be
Utah, that one
incredible.
NSA.
The
footage.
Utah one's the big one that they was like
yeah.
they were talking about. That one's like one of the biggest data centers in the entire world, and I think it's mostly or all military. And they're like, that's where
Incredible.
you're saving this stuff. But that's a big
what
thing,
they're
right? It's
doing
like,
now
let's
with
disable
it
this.
is, and this is, I mean, I would assume what they're doing now with this data is they're monitoring it for AI, and they're monitoring how people behave to train AI. And because it's so much information all at once, a person could never survey that.
Well,
You know what I
that's
mean?
what sentient does. So, like with the satellite stuff, that's how we found out about sentient, where sentient's the AI that they use to operationalize, and they say predict future events. Like this is almost like the Westworld show in the final season, where they got this supercomputer that's like predicting every single thing that's going to happen. But it's like looking around with the satellite images, and if it sees like an explosion or a liftoff, then it's like, you know, telling the other satellites to operationalize and point their cameras at the right directions or whatever. Right? It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's definitely Minority Report step 1. No doubt about it.
Yes.
Future crime, pre-crime. We're getting close.
Yeah.
We're these are big bugs now.
Look,
We're
I mean,
there.
take ChatGPT and slam quantum computing in it, man. Who knows where this thing is going to go in the next 10 or 20 years? My God.
Well, unleash a chat GPT on all of the databases of every police precinct around the country, and you watch the cold cases just solve themselves. And this is a thing, like I found out police, you know, stations and precincts, they don't really talk to each other. Their databases are connected on a federal level, but I mean, not really on this kind of stuff. So if you ever just if someone went out there and created a bot that could train itself on crime and whatever statistics, and then just kind of solve this issue in terms of like, here's 6 different suspects you could probably get for this because they were all in the same, dude, it would be the easiest thing.
Yeah.
But you got to wonder, why aren't they using? And I'm not trying to say pre-crime, because that would be, I don't want anything to do with that, right? But
right.
Still, you know what I mean? To give law enforcement and to give, you know, the data needed to stop crime or to prevent it. I mean, that's a good use of AI, I think.
Well, how about give us disclosure, right? I mean, I wonder about, like, I've used AI a lot for summarizing stuff, but now I'm starting to wonder, like, can I just ask questions of like, what is disclosure? Go give me disclosure and have it bring back a bunch of cases and files. You know, like it's coming pretty soon, I think.
Well, it's like time travel. I mean, if I had to put my money on it, I'd put my money on the ChatGPT and quantum computing is probably going to get us time travel before we do. That's my bet.
Could be. The quantum computing stuff I looked into, that's wild, man. Like, just for the viewers who haven't dug into it much, like the difference between regular computer and quantum computers, like if you're making a regular computer more and more powerful, you're gonna have this linear progression of them getting more and more powerful, right? Or it might plateau off. But with quantum computers, every qubit you add actually increases it exponentially. So it just gets more and more powerful and just goes straight up until you hit singularity, where, you know, I think it was even with just 56, 57 qubits, you're at like 9 quadrillion computations that it can do. And then they've got now ones that are like 5,000 qubits, which the numbers are just astronomical at that point, right? Like you might have enough at some point where you can map like every cell in the body of an entire, like, you know, football game or something like that, if everyone is there. It's crazy.
That'd be wild.
All right. Well, should we close it out here?
The closing out on AI is a great way to do it, I think.
Fun stream though, guys. Thanks for coming through for the first one. This one ran so much better.
Thanks for
than the
having me,
last
man. It was
one.
definitely a lot of fun.
They're definitely gonna have you back again all the freaking time.
Oh,
anytime, man. Kick me an invite. I'll come on.
And I'm trying to get on more streams too. So I saw you. What did you do today? You did just more on the AARO report kind of stuff I saw earlier.
Yeah, we went over the NSSA interview with him. We went over some Sora video. You know, kind of see what's going on with the AI stuff too. But yeah, every week I go over the news for about an hour, and you guys have been helpful for that. Thank you.
Right, Skyfire News.
That we can help.
Right,
without a doubt. Yeah.
I love that, like, even our haters use us. Not saying you're a hater, but our haters definitely use us.
No, I'm not a hater, brother. No.
Well, it's a needed thing. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
need people kind of condensing the news and talking about this and keeping the culture alive, right? And not just kind of repeating the same old stuff. Bring some new stuff in there. Both
I think people are
Terrestrial,
scared, you
go ahead.
know? Some people get scared that they're not going to get any, you know, push anymore, any look anymore. Hey, dude, rising tide raises all ships, man. You know?
Yeah.
That's exactly how I view it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, when are we gonna get that X deal? $5 million up front, $8 million contract, Cybertruck, first podcast in our space. Elon Musk, hit us up.
Hit us up.
I'm down, bro. Elon, hit us up,
Want
bro.
that Don Lemon deal, dude.
Yeah, we'll get that lemon deal.
Oh Lord,
that's spicy, dude.
Oh,
you want
Elon,
and a stake in the company, and you want the right to approve any changes in X policy. Like
he
this
gets
was
the name Elon's next.
Wait, Memory Hole 370 has Paranormal Chris's avatar in the chat. Who is that?
Shout out to Paranormal Chris.
I hope it's a real Chris. We
It'd be
miss you,
great.
bud.
No.
Memory Hole 370, dude.
He's just like, no.
It's not.
Yeah, shout out to Elon. Let me play Diablo 4 with you, man. Send me a game invite, dude. We'll join up.
Dude, for real. Hey guys, stick around. We'll have you guys backstage after the show real quick, and we'll do a little quick catch up. Great to see you guys. Red and I are going to give us some closing thoughts. Red, how do you think this episode went?
I think it went pretty good, other than my camera. I'm looking into buying a camera charger and battery thing. And yeah, how about you?
Yeah. I think this was night and day from our first attempt. And
yes,
if this is any indication of how this stuff is going to go, we're going to have the best time in here talking about this, being able to play clips and watch our friends comment and new people come in. We got to thank everybody for your comments, your super chats, the fact that you stayed here and watched the show. We're building this out. Go visit Red Panda Koala's channel if you want to see more in-depth documentaries, some of the best, if not the best documentaries in the field. You can find us on Skyfire News at Twitter, Instagram, or X, Instagram, TikTok. You guys go check us out. We spend a lot of time posting on X for the news. So if you guys want to be caught up and kept up on the UFO culture news as it develops throughout the years, definitely hit us up. Give us a follow over there. We'll provide links next time. I think the next episode is going to come out pretty soon. We might want to do these pretty much maybe daily, right? So be on the lookout for the new link coming out for our next episode. If you guys want to leave a comment, find us on Twitter or X, and shoot us some suggestions of what you want us to talk about.
Yep. All right, guys. Signing off.
Good work, Red. Until next time, man.
Thanks. Okay. Click. Boom.